What is up, everybody? This is 10-4 Broadcasting again here on this Feel Good Friday, bringing you live action at a high-octane sim series, and it's Vegas, baby. Tonight, I am joined by my co-host, Mike Maddox. Mike, how you doing tonight?
Good. How we doing today?
Oh, man, I'm ready to rock and roll here. No more road courses for us. This is back to the Speedway racing here at Las Vegas, and man, I've got an eye on the action here tonight, keeping an eye out on practice. Mike, man, it has been quite a season here in the high octane sim series. We've seen Matthew Badby win 4 out of the 8 races so far in this series. But we're in for some action-packed action here tonight, Mike. And what are some of the things that the viewers can keep their eye on for in tonight's race?
Vegas. The one thing, and we'll talk about this later in the show, about what iRacing has in store going forward. Um, but for Vegas, the one thing is fast speeds. That's one thing you're going to see constantly at this track.
Fast speeds indeed. Much different than the road course that we ran last week at Daytona. Of course, that was the memorial race there, but we are on to the next week here in the High Octane Sim Series. The High Octane Sim Series 270. We got real weather settings here tonight. Mike, taking a look at that there. We got 82 degrees on the track, just a little bit of rain in the air. Clear skies out there and 2 miles an hour wind. And for Mike, for those that are unfamiliar with iRacing, how does changing the settings to real weather affect the drivers on the track?
So basically, when you change it to weird weather, it's basically as if it's live at the track. Um, Now, in iRacing settings, you can change it to a particular time and day, as we're getting ready for qualifying here. But you could change it to a time and date. But then when you do that, it could be winter weather, it could be summer weather. It does make a factor. We won't see snow. We won't see rain here tonight. I know crowd is crying for that part, but apparently that's in the works. But next week's race is definitely going to be totally different than what you expect here tonight.
Man, I'm expecting the unexpected here tonight in the High Octane Sim Series. I'm curious to see how those new weather settings affect things on the track. But of course, I want to take the viewers through the format of tonight's event here at Las Vegas. We're going to run 3 different stages here. We're going to run a stage of 45 laps to start things out. Going to then run another 45 to make that 90, and then another few laps to hit that 180 mark at the end, ladies and gentlemen. The guys are going to have 4 sets of tires on those race cars here tonight. And of course, we just went over those real weather settings. And before we get qualifying going here, I do want to run through just a few bullet points of the week heading into week 9 here in the High Octane Sim Series. Last week, Parker Collins led 26 laps and had the fastest lap time at the road course at Daytona, but unfortunately couldn't get that win for Tiny Dog Racing. Those guys, Darren Staff and Rye Lewis, keep an eye out for that race team here tonight. Probably be racking up those victories heading into the playoffs there. Matthew Badby, man, that is the guy of this series so far, ladies and gentlemen. He has 4 wins on the season. As I mentioned to open this broadcast, he has virtually won half the races here to start off this season, man. And he is a rookie in this series. Mike, how impressive is that?
That's definitely for a rookie in this type of league. We've seen action every race that we've done. This is. I always look forward to doing, watching these guys every week. As we see the 89 new sponsor on their car this weekend. But as we see drivers getting up to speed, getting ready for that first lap on the track. But man, I'm looking forward to these guys putting on a great show for us.
And they do indeed, Mike. They're putting on a show for not only us up here in the booth, but the viewers that watch at home on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch here on 10-4 Broadcasting. This High Octane Sim Series brings the action every week. But talking about action, Mike, we got some action towards the bottom of the points table, man. It's Derek Schilling is only 8 points above James Brosker for that last playoff spot in tonight's event. Man, that's going to come down to a lot of things. I know James struggled at that road course at Daytona last week. Taking a look at those top 4 drivers are locked into the playoffs. So those drivers are just racking up wins at this point. They don't really have anything to worry about as far as making that championship chase. Keeping an eye out towards the end of that table, though, Kelly Thomas, I believe, is in the eighth place of the table, and then towards the bottom, you're going to have two more names. And the last name of that table is going to be Derek Schilling in the 10th position. But of course, as I mentioned, he only has an 8-point lead on James Brosker. So if James can come home with a top 10 here tonight, or even racking up that race victory, that could really solidify his spot in the playoffs.
Most definitely. I know the rules here. If you win, you're in a chase. So that's why the points look a little different than what you would normally see. Um, but I think Zachary Compton, I don't want to put the cheeks on it this week, but I think he's going to win tonight.
Yeah, he's been your pick the few last couple weeks there. The Compton brothers really run strong here throughout this season. Last week we saw it again. I believe it was your driver taking home. I think it was P2 or P3, a top three finish for him. So really climbed his way back up into that podium finish. I mean, it was quite a runaway towards the end of that race last week at the road course at Daytona, as Matthew Badby, like he always does, kind of creeping, cue up the TLC a little bit. You don't want to creep too much, but he crept through that race a little bit to the last 25, and then man, he just found those lines and pulled away from the rest of the field. And those battles really ensued behind him for the rest of those positions on the track, Mike.
Most definitely. When before we go green, I will be dropping some news from what I have learned from iRacing staff. Um, Hopefully, I don't eat my words, but definitely looking forward to not just tonight, but the rest of the races to come.
Yeah, no, this is going to be an exciting race here tonight, Mike. And we got 14 drivers in tonight's field as we're taking a look at that qualifying grid. And wouldn't you know, our points leader is going to start from the top, Mike. Matthew Badby is going to take home that pole position right now on the track. I believe we're still waiting for Riley Hoots to get onto the server here. He's having just a tad bit of technical difficulties, but of course, once Riley gets in here, that'll be the 15th driver in tonight's field. But man, Parker Collins, another strong contender here in the high octane sim series, is going to start P2 so far on that grid. Keeping an eye on qualifying here. Of course, we'll get that official starting grid for you in just a second once everything gets sorted out. All those official lap times are calculated. But Mike, for somebody who has experience racing and iRacing and experience maybe at this track, how do you tackle Las Vegas? I know how to tackle it in the casinos and on the slot machines and maybe even the card tables a little bit and maybe a few sports bets, but I'm not sure how to tackle this racetrack at Las Vegas. How do the folks take their views on this track?
Or did Riley make it?
Well, we'll take it on board here on the pace lap as soon as they get sorted out. But you're going to basically going turns 1 and 3. You'll be entering a little bit higher than you normal, and you want to diamond into those corners a tad bit. You don't want to overheat your tires. And then coming back to the checkered flag, basically if you're doing a hot lap in qualifying, you want to get as much to that grass as possible. But staying on the track, this is a little bit different than you would say a Texas type racetrack, where we're seeing like 3-4 wide at other places, especially with IndyCar and stuff. But here, Vegas, different animal.
It surely is in more ways than one. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, but I know if whoever driver picks up the win tonight will carry that victory onto the next week because that'll lock them into the playoffs. But Mike, I wanted to ask you, the corners here at Vegas, is it the type that you let off a lot and you hit your mark throughout the corner, or is it one that you can kind of keep on the gas throughout most of the corners and just sort of watch your speed going around?
First couple laps, you can basically full throttle it. But then later, like towards the middle of the later run, especially with the real weather, it can go up and can go down depending on how the track is. If it gets hotter, people are going to be sliding a little bit. If it gets slicker, you're definitely going to be, full throttle most of the corners. But basically, the middle to the late in the runs, you'll be seeing drivers just feathering just a little bit on entry, just to make sure that car sticks the way around.
Keep an eye out for that. For sure, Mike, and with 4 sets of tires in tonight's event, it's going to be much different outlook than the road course at Daytona last week, as the boys didn't really have to worry about tires too much. They're worried about fuel in that event. And Mike, we've seen it in this series here. Fuel always comes into a factor towards the end.
Definitely. Every race, we've always had fuel strategy. Fuel strategy was the key. The first race we did, and then just kept playing, playing, and playing. And I'm looking forward to another fuel strategy race. As you see, Nicholas Compton will be the 15th driver to take time, as Riley Hoots has not yet put a lap time in.
Straight out of Compton. Are those Compton brothers? Not really, but I'd like to say that they're a little homage to NWA. But keeping an eye on Nicholas Compton here, racing out of Paducah, Kentucky. And really a lot of speed here watching qualifying take place here. Of course, they are rocking paint schemes in honor of their father, who unfortunately passed away. But this is a great homage to him rocking those paint schemes. And boy, Mike, you picked Zach within the first couple broadcasts for us here at 10-4 Broadcasting with the High Octane Sim series, but it's really been both of the brothers that have been really consistent throughout the series. I believe we had Zach up in the booth last week who came home P5, but his brother came home podium finish. So, and they've really shown consistency throughout the weeks here at the High Octane Sim series.
Definitely. Hopefully, during the race, we can hear from Nicholas Compton about his highs, his lows in a couple of races that we've been watching. And who knows, we'll probably bring in some special guests along the way.
Oh yeah, we are definitely working on that to see. And of course, we'll be doing driver interviews, getting everybody going there. And we just saw Zachary Compton take the track there, Mike. And what position did he qualify there?
We are looking at a P11 at the moment.
Pretty good, pretty good. Not a bad little start there for Zachary Compton. I believe it was Nicholas Compton that we saw on the track. But we are, I believe, waiting for Riley Hoots to join the server here. Now, Riley is one of the most consistent drivers here in this high octane sim series. I believe he finished P2 last week, but as we're waiting for him, we do want to run you through this official starting grid so far. Of course, our points leader, Matthew Badby, is going to be taking that pole position. He has 4 wins on the season. Ladies and gentlemen, he has been the top dog throughout this season so far. It's going to be hard to catch him here at Vegas. But P2 is going to be Parker Collins out of Tiny Dog Racing, man. That 54 machine has really shown a lot of speed throughout the weeks here, picking up a win in the last couple weeks as well. Alan Bledsoe is going to start P3. What a great starting position for Alan there. He's kind of struggled a few weeks here, but it'd be awesome to see him pick up that speed again here tonight. Darren Staff, another Tiny Dog Racing machine up there in the top 5, is going to start P4. Brian Clark's going to start P5. Zachary Compton, your pick every week, Mike, is going to come home, or going to start off P6 there. P7 is going to be Nick Alford, the admin here at the High Octane Sim Series. Again, we want to thank him for bringing us on here at the High Octane Sim Series. James Brosker, that name that I mentioned to start off the broadcast here. He's only 8 points away from that last playoff spot. Man, what a great starting position for him in tonight's event. Rye Lewis, another Tiny Dog Racing machine up in the top 10 here. Derek Schilling's going to be P10, and then I'll throw it over to you, Mike, to finish off that starting grid for the folks.
So we got P11 is Nicholas Compton, followed by, I know it's hard, last week was very hard for him, but in that 48 throwback, Jimmy Johnson, Matthew Wilson, Robert King, P13, Kelly Thomas is in P14, Bob Carroll, P15, and rounding out the field is Riley Hoots.
Taking a look at that starting grid, ladies and gentlemen, we always like to do this here at 10-4 Broadcast. We always like to make picks on the race of who we think is going to take home this victory. Man, it's hard not to pick the obvious. I know we're in Vegas. I know it's the betting city, the betting capital of the world there in Las Vegas. And I think, Mike, my pick for tonight is going to be Parker Collins in that 54 out of Tiny Dog Racing. He's just shown awesome consistency throughout these last couple weeks. Of course, rocking that another homage to Michelle Wilson Sides, who unfortunately passed away. I think we're going on a week now. Last Wednesday, she unfortunately passed away here. And if you haven't got a chance to check out that, Matthew Wilson, is awesome to have you back here racing with us here at the High Octane Sim Series, buddy. It's great to have you back. Hopefully you can put that throwback 48 machine into the victory lane, man. And glad to have you here. And and it's we couldn't imagine what you've been going through here in the last week or so. But man, we are here for you here at 10-4 Broadcasting, and we'll be cheering you on here tonight. Man, you know what? I'll have to switch up my pick. I'm going to pick Matthew here tonight. He's racing with a lot of motivation. He's racing with just a clear aspect of just focus here tonight. He's got nothing else. I mean, he's got a lot going on, but as far as what's going on the track here tonight, he might be the most focused driver here at Vegas. But ladies and gentlemen, this green flag is about to wave here at Vegas. Let's go, Viva Las Vegas, baby. Let's go racing here in the High Octane Sim Series. Be riding that inside lane here through the corners. That's on that 42 right behind him as they come down the backstretch here on this lap 1. Got Clark climbing right behind him.
And I did say that I'll be dropping some news. We did find out from iRacing that we'll be getting some special artwork, so to say, on the tracks going forward. We see every week, as we has contact with the 54.
Oh, there goes my pick. My pick before Matthew Wilson. I think I may have put the commentator's cursor as we see Bob Carroll and Parker Collins get tied up there on lap 2, ladies and gentlemen. Man, Mike, the action's already starting to pop off here at Vegas.
Definitely, this track is can be your best friend or it can be your worst nightmare. But as we're talking about iRacing, the newest update coming next week from iRacing staff and former Pro Series, Tyler Hudson had mentioned that apparently we are getting traction compound to these tracks. So that's something to look forward to.
Keep an eye out for that, ladies and gentlemen. But Mike, in the meantime, if we could rev up that 10-4 broadcasting replay and figure out why things popped off faster than a champagne bottle poolside at the Las Vegas Strip and see exactly what happened there on lap 2. There we have our first caution on the night here as we see Parker just got a little high up the track there and was, oh man, he was trying to save that machine and just couldn't get out of the way fast enough as we saw Bob Carroll, I believe that's Zachary Compton, get tagged up in that. Man, that's unfortunate, but we are very early in tonight's event, ladies and gentlemen. There is we've seen it. We actually saw David Medina crash on lap 1 last week and actually came home with I think it was just outside of the top 5 there for David last week. So anything can happen here in the High Octane Sim Series. Just because you get in trouble on lap 1 doesn't mean you're out of tonight's event. As you see Parker still on pit lane there, Mike. Man, is it something about the corners here at Vegas, Mike? It's just a little tight where you think you might be able to save the machine by yourself, but there's just nowhere to avoid that wreck.
I don't think so. I think it's just high speeds where it's 82 degrees. Track temp is very, very high, so the back end's getting a little slick on the track. For Vegas, it's this is Vegas weather.
It sure is.
Being reports that Riley Hoots has not yet taken the start, so I believe he will be joining us shortly.
Keep an eye out for that as he's trying to get into the server here, ladies and gentlemen. Just a few things that iRacing we have to worry about, and that other thing we don't like to mention too much is that netcode word. For people unfamiliar with what takes place here at iRacing, netcode is, I'd say, just where your car becomes a ghost car, and your car becomes ultra sensitive on the track, and things happen that you may have not wanted to happen or should have happened. There's just a few things to keep an eye out here while we broadcast this iRacing action here out of the High Octane Sim Series. Keep an eye out on the action on the track, and as Mike mentioned, we are racing with real weather settings here tonight, so that's another factor into what these drivers have to deal with here at Vegas. With all the speed here on the track. And Mike, that green flag came so fast to start tonight's event. I didn't actually get your pick in tonight's event. Are you still going to rock with the Compton boys straight out of Compton, or are you going to pick a new driver here tonight?
I'm still going to rock with Zachary Compton, but I'm gonna pick a dark horse. And I think Mother Nature's telling me one thing. I see good old Mike Skinner paint scheme out there, so I think I'm gonna go with Brian Clark as my dark horse.
That is quite the throwback indeed. That is early 2000s, I believe, Mike Skinner, or even before that. That is a very much a throwback scheme there because if I do remember correctly, he didn't run too many races at the Cup level. He was there for only a few years, so it's only a few of us that really know who Mike Skinner is, but we do know one thing here at 10-4 Broadcasting. We're about to go green, 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 green again here at Vegas as Matthew Badby is going to take this green flag. Let's go racing, boys. Looks like we have a battle for the lead ensuing right at the top of the pack there. That is James Brosker taking the lead from Matthew Badby as Matthew goes a little high up the track there and enter into turn one as we're going around turn two onto the backstretch here. And it is James Brosker in that awesome black and white Dale Earnhardt tribute machine at the top. Look at Eric Bledsoe. He's trying on the inside lane there. Almost touched that quarter panel going into three. James Brosker is going to ride them around. Oh, as he goes down below the white line, he gets loose. Oh, is he going to save it? No, he takes out Matthew Badby on the front stretch. Oh my goodness, ladies and gentlemen. We saw him go just below that white line, get loose. We saw him doing a little Tokyo drifting up the track there and just had nowhere to go. Wow, things are getting crazy here in Vegas as they always do here at the High Octane Sim Series. We are not even 10 laps into tonight's event here, Mike. Wow.
Definitely, this weather definitely going to be as a change for every driver. As we're going to go to a replay and exactly show you how that all transpired.
Wow, wow, wow. As we get this 10-4 broadcasting replay revved up for you, this race has been crazy from the get-go. We just saw that James Brosker in that three machine take over the lead. Maybe he just had too much speed going around the track because he dipped right below that white line. You'll see it just before this action here, Mike. Yep, coming out of three, right in the middle. Yep, he dips right below that white line. Comes up just a little bit high on the track. I think he knew what he had. The tires got just a little slick there.
You can see in the driver's seat trying to hold on to that
Oh,
car.
man. Oh, man. And there's Matthew Wilson in that 48, just getting a little love tap as he's going by. I think he does save that machine. Oh, man, what a start for tonight's event, Mike. Maybe we could take an onboard ride with James during that event just to see what exactly happened as he went below that white line, just to see what his point of view was. It may have caused him to go a little high side on that track.
Definitely.
Of course, this 10-4 broadcasting replay, we're revving it up for you here just to see what caused that caution there as we saw James overtake there, man, with a lot of speed. Just want to see exactly what happened from his point of view. We'll take an onboard ride with him in that three machine to see what he may have done or if he had an opportunity to save that machine. I know you had talked about in the driver's seat, there was a lot of hand movement on that wheel. We'll take a view just to see, ladies and gentlemen. As you see, oh man. Just a lot of speed there. Once he went below that yellow or the white line there, there was just nowhere he could go.
There's Robert King also involved.
Gosh, Mike, and for those that are unfamiliar with the driving that takes place here in iRacing, how, what kind of difficult situation was James in right there? I mean, how difficult is that to save that machine? He didn't save it per se, but he did a great job of making sure. I mean, unfortunately, he only took out one car in Matthew Badby, but how difficult of a situation there is it where you have that much speed going around the corner and you start getting loose there?
Well, high speeds coming into almost, let's say, a cold track. Your tires ain't heated up as much as you think, and you know, we heard on board that he was getting just a bit off the throttle. That's something you want to do to try to save your tires. You don't want to use too much throttle. Um, but we've learned that when you get off the throttle just a tad bit, that back end can come around. And what happened was we saw he clipped the white line under the white line, the apron as they call it, and it's not your best friend.
It is definitely not somebody you want to do karate with in the garage because once he hit below that apron there, it was he became Tokyo drifting there. I usually sing the song, ladies and gentlemen, but I really can't hear tonight. It's when I need to learn the lyrics just a tad bit more to start singing it a little bit more. But cue up the Tokyo Drift theme song there because he was doing a little drifting on the track. But again, I just do want to shout out the driver skill there of making sure he didn't take out the whole field because as he was in the lead there, but unfortunately he did tangle up with Matthew Badby there. But you see both of them are back up there racing. James is going to start P10 on this restart, and Matthew Badby is going to start P7. So not the end of the world for those drivers, but definitely a nuisance to start off this race, Mike.
Definitely, but still got a lot of laps to go.
We
Anything is
really do,
possible.
ladies and anything is possible. Shout out to Kevin Garnett there. As you see, those pace truck lights are off, and we're about to go racing here again in Vegas. It has been a crazy start to tonight's event, but ladies and gentlemen, let's do this again. Let's go racing again here in the High Octane Sim Series. Green, green, green.
As we see the battle for third place heating up. Compton took over second place from Nick Alford on that restart, but Nick trying to come back. Dark horse pick, Brian Clark on the outside line. Trying to get that speed. Side by side for the lead. And the Titan Church has new leader, Nicholas Compton. Compton, race leader, followed by Nick Alford and Derek Showing as we have a battle for second place.
Yeah, Mike, this race is heating up. And, oh, just as I come back onto the air here, we already have action again here on that backstretch, and that's that Mike Skinner car, that 31 of Brian Clark is getting tied up into that. That second car, I believe that's the green machine. Trying to see if I can get that number correct there. That is the 87. 87 of Schilling. That, oh my goodness, ladies and gentlemen, that is Derek Schilling who is hanging on to that last playoff spot, just 8 points above James Brosker. We saw James with that speed there as he overtook the lead there and then got caught up going below the apron there just a tad. But man, that's going to change things up here, ladies and gentlemen, as you see Derek Schilling's getting tied up there in that action, Mike. And man, that is three cautions already in tonight's event. I believe we only had four or five in last week's event at the road course at Daytona. So it is a high octane pace to start things off here tonight at Vegas.
Definitely, this track is so far has been a worst case for these drivers, but as we've seen up front, we had a new race leader. Nicholas Compton, as we're getting reports from Riley Hoots that apparently they could not get the engine started this afternoon. So it looks like they will be loading up early and headed home for the next race. But the real report was, he said he wished he was racing tonight. His PC force restarted when he tried to get into the session. Sorry you couldn't make the race there, Riley. That's right, there's always next week. Especially if the new iRacing update. Be great to see what you guys do with it. Now, as I'm looking here, the first three cars have not yet come to pit road. Nicholas Compton, Nick Offord, and Alan Bledsoe. Those three drivers have yet to come to pit lane. Everybody has been down twice at least. As we see the 27 of Bob Carroll coming down pit road to get a little bit more damage fixed. Riley Hoots put some words in chat. He said Richmond is a track that he had circled on his calendar since the schedule was released. We're looking forward to you coming back, and who knows, we'll see what happens.
Indeed, Mike. And of course, Riley is one of those drivers that is locked into the playoffs. Taking a look at the point standings there, if we could pop those up on the screen for ladies and gentlemen home, just to see those point standings. Of course, you see Riley Hoots is just outside there. He's in the 8th position. So, man, I am mistaken there. He is not locked into those playoffs just yet. So there's going to be a lot to race for in next week's event, Mike. He is one of those hanging on. I believe he's the middle of the table because I believe we're missing two names on there as we're showing you those guys that are already locked into the playoffs there. But, man, that's going to shake things up depending on where those guys just below Riley finish here tonight, of course.
Definitely, but we've seen, week after week, Riley Hoots, he's up there every week battling for the lead, battling for top fives. So I believe at minus 50 points, that's a walk in the bucket. Anything is possible.
Of course, shout out to Kevin Garnett there. If anything is possible, indeed. I just want to take a look to see the few names that we might be missing there. A few names just below Kelly Thomas there on that points grid there. Darren Staff is going to be P7 on the table. Of course, that's Tiny Dog Racing as well there in that 54 machine for Darren Staff. Brian Clark, we just saw him get tied up in that Mike Skinner throwback machine. He is right now currently 8th in the standings. Nicholas Shell is going to be 9th in the standings. I'm not seeing his Machine, yep, yep. No, I'm not seeing his car here tonight on the grid. Just below him, as we mentioned, Derek Schilling in that 87 and James Brosker in that 3 are going to be 10 and 11. So right now, Derek's holding on to that last playoff spot if the season ended right now, and James is just 8 points away. So depending on tonight's results, we could have a shakeup in that table for sure, Mike.
Definitely, as we see the lights in the pace car are off. So you know that means we're going racing.
It is time to go racing again here at Viva Las Vegas, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go racing one more time. The High Octane Sim Series, green, 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 green. As you see, Nicholas Compton's leading the way in that 80. We mentioned those brothers to start off this broadcast, but as I'm talking about Nicholas at the top of the lead here, we see Nick Alford going to that inside lane there, heading down into 3. As you see, Bledsoe and him are going to go door to door on the corner here. See if Nick's going to make a pass. Coming around 4 here, they are side by side. As you see Nicholas Compton brush the wall there just a tad. He's going to go to that danger zone lane that I like to mention. They're taking an onboard ride with Nick Alford here. They're battling for the lead right now, ladies and gentlemen. We're only 23 laps into tonight's event. These onboard cameras are brought to you by 10-4 Broadcasting. As you see, Nick Compton still leading the way. They're just in front of Nick Alford, but do keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, that Nick Alford has that 42 right next to him. And now, Mike, one of the things I'm seeing here on these onboard cameras are those little specks on the window. Is that actual things coming on, like off the track into the window, or is it just maybe just a little glitch in the system there?
Those specs are what you think they are. They are a little bit of tire debris that you see every weekend. The NASCAR guys as they're racing. So I guess that's a little dirt spots, so to say. So that every time you come on a pit road, you get a windshield tear off. It'll definitely be brand new again. As we see a battle for the lead, heating up as we're on board with Allen. Speaking of battles, we got more than one battle for the lead. We got a battle for the lead, while we got everybody behind chasing them down.
And they are 3 wide on that front stretch, Mike, as we have more action right behind them. As you see, Zachary Compton and one of those tiny dog racing machines are tied up just going into the corner there. Oh, man, and there's Derek Schilling again in that 31, caught up again in some action. Man, Mike, once you mentioned that paint scheme, it seems like he's been tied up in some action ever since then. Oh, man, that is big damage for Zach Compton there.
I think you got the names and cars mixed up. Derek Schilling is in the 87 and Brian Clark is in the 31.
There we go. We got it right there. But man, because this action's been so high octane to start this thing off, we get a little dizzy up here in the booth, keeping an eye on things. But man, we have our 4th caution already, Mike, and we are not even halfway through stage 1 yet.
Yeah, this weather is definitely playing a factor for these drivers. Well, one thing, we talked about at the start of the show is, you can be love it or you can hate it. And looks like a lot of these drivers are not liking it. But another thing that we see is that we're seeing side-by-side action, 2 wide, 3 wide, as we see, I think we're going to see some people come on down pit road.
Yeah, once we take a look at those pit stops, we'll, of course, rev up that 10-4 broadcasting replay to see what caused our 4th caution of the race here tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Because, man, things have gotten crazy already in Vegas like they always do. Viva Las Vegas here, ladies and gentlemen. Things have been wild on the track, to say the least.
Definitely will be pulling up the replay here very shortly. As Nicholas Compton gets him on pit road. Looks like we got a couple drivers on staying around pit road to get some more damage fixed. And we're going to check on that replay.
Revving up that 10-4 broadcast and replay for you, ladies and gentlemen, to see what exactly caused that fourth caution of the night here. Man, Mike, have you ever seen a race like this at Vegas? Is it usually this way, or are the boys just racing extra hard here tonight?
They're just racing extra hard.
Oh, man.
Started up to 81.
That just seems like he just didn't know his place on the track, or maybe his spotter kind of left him out in the wind there, because it looked like he was creeping up the track and just forgot that the 54 was right there. I believe that's the 54 machine.
The 20, actually. Oh, looks like we've seen a bobble.
Oh, the 20 of Rye Lewis, yeah.
So I think we're going to go on board.
Yeah, I think his spotter may have just let him down there, Mike. He just didn't know his position on the track and headed up to that high line and didn't know that somebody was right next to him.
Give it one more look. Start from a different view. Yep, we see the 81 just come up just a tad bit, and 20 was right there.
Man, that is really unfortunate for those two drivers, because again, Rye Lewis was coming on strong there for Tiny Dog Racing. We saw him kind of struggle a bit in the last couple of weeks, but you saw him come on at the road course at Daytona, had a solid finish there. You saw him qualify in the top 10 here at tonight's event, along with Zach Compton there, another consistent driver. He finished just outside the podium last week at the road course at Daytona. I think he came home P5 was his official finish last week. So, man, unfortunate for those guys that were really starting to find their groove here in the High Octane Sim Series.
Definitely, and those of you watching at home, the pace car is invisible, so you see Alan there trying to get Brett Bodine a little wake-up call, said speed this race up, I want to get to victory lane, but that's why there's no damage on anyone's cars, so that's one thing you don't have to worry about going forward. As we got lights off here, so it looks like we're going green flag this time by.
Man, Mike, all this high octane action makes me think of one thing. Can you guess what that might be?
I think it's looks like it's going to be some barbecuing up here in the car box here.
Oh man, this type of race and action makes me extremely hungry up here in the booth, and boy, we can't get enough of the awesome barbecue and steak from Captain Jack's Smokehouse out there in Amelia Island, man. Always providing the best barbecue and the best steaks that you can find. If you're local in that area, definitely see if they got DoorDash, if they got Google you can order from. Check out their website, their Facebook, all that awesome stuff. Man, coming with it. You don't see many places that specialize both in barbecue and steaks. Go check them out for sure. They are smoking all the best meats there at Captain Jack's.
As we're getting ready to go green here. And we are green flag, green flag.
Green, 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 baby. Vegas, Vegas, Vegas. Let's go.
As they say, what stays in Vegas, stays in Vegas. And I think these drivers want to keep these cars in Vegas.
Indeed, except for the winner of tonight's event, who's going to carry on that race victory into the playoffs, because if it is a new winner here tonight, they will lock themselves into the playoffs. Keeping an eye out for that, ladies and gentlemen. Bledsoe's still leading the way, Mike. He's really showing some speed there at the top of that pack there. As you see Matthew Wilson, it is awesome to see him back in that 48 machine. And he is picking up right where he left off there with a lot of speed. But you see that 45 right on the outside of him. That is Darren Staff out of Tiny Dog Racing. And I don't think we should call him, I know that's the official name there at Tiny Dog Racing, but they are some big dogs because they have shown that they are big dogs in this series the last couple of weeks, Mike.
Yeah, most definitely. I don't think it's just them. We see other drivers, getting speed in these races. You know what? This is the best action you can see. If you're looking for a great league to jump on and race with a great bunch of guys, the High Octane Series is the place to be.
It surely is, Mike, and this, of course, this league is run by Nick Alford. He is racing in that 22 machine, just in that top 5 P4 there, but this league is split into 2. There is an Xfinity series and also a Cup series, and this is the Cup drivers, the major leagues, if you will, here in the High Octane Sim Series. So if you want to get your feet wet, oh no! More action heading into 3 as you see Matthew Wilson get tied up just on the entry of that corner. Oh my goodness, Mike. We are running about an average about 2 laps before the action starts popping off more than the champagne bottles in the cabana at Las Vegas. I tell you what.
These drivers, they're eager to get that win, that stage points. And we see it. This is great action by these drivers. Normally you see people just sitting back and relaxing. No, these guys are going.
We'll rev up that 10-4 broadcast and replay for you, ladies and gentlemen, and see what exactly brought out our 5th caution of the night. And we are just about halfway through, just past halfway through this first stage here in the High Octane Sim Series at Las Vegas. Man, Mike, we're seeing some of the best drivers getting tangled up in this. So I'm thinking my Mystic Mac prediction here tonight, we'll probably have a first-time winner if the action ensues the way it is.
Definitely. Has got the exact point in time. So we're pulling up here, and we're on board with Matthew Wilson, and that is 5, I believe, of Robert King. And we seen that a little bit earlier with Zachary Compton coming up just a little bit too much. I thought nobody was home, but with 5, if we're gonna check another good view.
Yeah, if we could zoom out just a tad there, Mike, I believe we might have had a victim of the danger zone, as I like to say. The danger zone lane may have eaten up another driver here in the High Octane Sim Series as we're at that exact point here, taking a look at Matthew Wilson getting tangled up there. But I believe they may have been 3 wide on the entry of that corner. Just a tad. Yeah, you see Matthew Wilson just in the middle there. In that danger zone lane, I like to call it, nothing ever good happens in the danger zone. You either get loose. Once you do get loose in that danger zone, there's nowhere to go. You usually have a car to your left or a car to your right, and once you start to go, there's nowhere to go. And if you don't get tangled up in something crazy like that, usually you lose a lot of track positions because you don't have any draft partners right behind you in that danger zone lane.
Definitely, I think we will see a first-time winner. But remember, if you win, you're locked in.
You win, you are in here at Las Vegas, the High Octane Sim Series. And right now, we only have 4 drivers that are locked in currently to the playoffs. And as you see, Matthew Babby has picked up 4 wins on the season, so everybody's trying to knock him off that number 1 spot. Cue up the Ludacris there. Taking a look at that grid right now, but it's still Bledsoe in that 42, Mike, and man, he has found his lane up there at the top.
Definitely, but remember, we see in the 80 of Nicholas Compton up there as well. So it's just a matter of, who can stay out, who can do damage up front, so to say. So far we see Allen is doing the most damage. We've seen leaders with Nick We've seen, other drivers come up. We see James also come up and battle for that lead. But, you're getting that clean air. Definitely a whole different animal.
Truly is, Mike. And as you see, the lights on the pace truck are still on here in the High Octane Sim Series at Las Vegas. We're gonna have probably, if I'm a betting man, probably around 6 or 7 laps, if I'm not mistaken, Mike. If the pace lights shut off here, we'll have about a 6 or 7 lap shootout to end stage one.
And yes, we got lights off.
Lights off here in the Las Vegas. I think it's the 270 here tonight, Mike. We're running 270 miles here at the track here at Las Vegas in the High Octane Sim Series. And Bledsoe has led a lot of laps to start off tonight's event. We are seeing a lot of action already here in stage one. If you are late tuning into the broadcast, things have popped off pretty crazy. And no, that is not a typo up in the corner there. We do have 5 cautions on the track already in tonight's event. We were just about to end stage one here in the High Octane Sim Series at Las Vegas. Man, it has been wild from the get-go, Mike.
Definitely, these drivers, they're hungry, and that's what we love. We love the action. We love the intenseness of these drivers are putting out, are actually putting on. Hopefully everybody there, the viewers out there, are loving the action as much as we are.
I hope so too, Mike, but we are about to go racing again here at Las Vegas. As you see the boys going around turn 4 here, you'll see that pace truck go ahead and stir off right down into pit road. As you see him go there, it's going to be Darian, Staff, and Bledsoe to start things off, and a big jump out of the 42 to start off this restart, and he's going to take that green flag. Let's go racing again here in Las Vegas.
As we see a battle for second place. 22 on Nick. Darren in that 45. The partner we're 3 wide. Teammates 3 wide. As I believe the 20 did back off just a tad bit there.
And I'm going to go ahead and rename that team the Big Dog Racing Team. They go by the Tiny Dog Racing Team, but boy, they have showed that they're the big dogs here in the High Octane Sim Series. Those guys have really shown a lot of consistency throughout the weeks here at the High Octane Sim Series, and you see them running, as Mike mentioned, 3 wide, and this is a battle for top 5 positions. So to have 3 cars from one team up in the top 5, I mean, that's going to be an awesome strategy moving forward in this race.
Most definitely, the teammates are going to help each other out. And thing is, when we go to Richmond next week, there is no helping, there is no teammates. It's definitely short track racing. But before we get to Richmond, we got to get a winner here tonight.
Indeed we do, Mike, but we are closing in at the end of stage 1 here. We are having a battle for the lead going down the backstretch here as Nick Alford went to that outside lane there. As you see, Bledsoe's going to go back into the inside there, racing down into 3 and 4 there. Nick Alford's going to lead them out of the corner here. It's going to be our race leader going to go ahead and cross this line here, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be lap 42 here at Vegas. We got 3 laps to go here in stage 1. As you see, Nicholas Compton's trying to go on the inside of Bledsoe there in that 42, but Nick Alford's going to stay right in the middle of that lane there, heading down into the backstretch. It's going to lead them down into 3 there, single file, as you see Nick Compton make a big move on the inside, going down into the corner, side by side with Darren Staff there in that 45, and Derek Schillings climbed his way up into the top 5, ladies and gentlemen. We saw him get tangled up in some early race action, but he's climbed his way back up there. Nick Alford starting to pull away just a tad from those cars you're seeing battle for top 5 positions, Mike.
Most definitely. And Robert King, he's supposed to be driving the 33, but he's in the 5 this week. I believe they're doing a number change with that. But the first race we came on board, Robert King, he was saying how much he was still new to this league. And here we go, battle coming up to the top 5.
Yes,
Sitting
indeed,
in P4
Mike.
right now, as we see a hard battle here Ooh, we got bumpers. Oh man, this is definitely gonna be a great race.
And this is the final lap of stage one, ladies and gentlemen. We're keeping an eye on this battle for second as Nick Alford starting to pull away with that race lead there as he's going to probably cross the line here, taking home the stage one victory. Big shout out to Nick Alford in that 22. He needs it, man, to climb up in that points.
Definitely, as we are under the first manual caution, this is a stage break. As Nick Alford has taken your victory of the stage one, and stage two will be up shortly. And seeing as how stage one was crazy, stage two, oh man, I'm looking forward to that.
Big win out of Nick Alford there, Mike. Not a name that we were kind of shouting out in that stage one, but climbed his way up to the lead and just didn't look back there in those green flag pit stops there as we're keeping an eye on the real weather settings here at 10-4 Broadcasting here. This is a high octane series 270 here at Las Vegas. Man, what a great job out of Nick climbing his way up there. And we'll see if we can't get a copy out of Nick to see what exactly he did to take home that victory here in stage one. We'll see if we can't get him up into the broadcast booth to see if we got a copy with Nick. What a victory there out of him there in that machine, Mike.
Most definitely, we see every driver trying to get to that lead. Nick just happened to be there at the end of stage one.
Indeed. Let's see if we can't get Nick on the radio here. Hey, Nick, this is Mike and Will up here in the 10-4 broadcast booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Man, what a crazy stage one here at Las Vegas. We had 5 cautions in that stage one. Kind of take us through your view of the race so far and what you had to do to take home that stage victory.
It's been really tight. Everybody's really tight, close together. It's been good. Everybody up front's been pretty clean with each other. I took 2 tires on the second to last caution there to kind of have a little bit more grip, and I guess it worked out.
It did indeed. You climbed your way up into that lead position there, Nick, and just kind of take us through what do you think is going to play out here in the later stages of this race as we saw the action just kind of get crazy there start off this race. Do you think it's going to be the same tempo throughout, or do you think things are going to start to simmer down a little bit?
I'm hoping that things will start to simmer down a little bit and calm down. It felt like once I started getting a good rhythm, the caution would come out, and hopefully everybody just settles in, kind of takes it easy. It's still a long race.
It is a long way to go, Nick, and taking an eye on those point standings there, you are 5 spots away from the top 10 there. And man, what a big win it was to get that stage one victory here. And what else do you think you got to do to climb your way into the top 10 to solidify your spot in the playoffs?
So I'm not going to be able to make the playoffs on points. I've missed too much of the season due to work. So I'm going to have to get either a win tonight or a win in Richmond. So I'd like to get a win tonight. That way I don't have to put a whole bunch of pressure on myself at Richmond. But I am really good at Richmond. That's my one track that I know I got in my pocket. If I have to, pull out a win, I can. But I'm just trying to not put that much pressure on myself, and I'll try to get a win here tonight.
Man, the way you climbed your way up into that lead position there's no doubt in my mind that you could put that 22 machine into victory lane here tonight. Before we let you get back racing here at the High Octane Sim Series at Las Vegas, we do want to give you that special opportunity to shout out any sponsors or anybody that you might have watching here at tonight's broadcast.
Yeah, give a shout out to my wife and my family back home, and then shout out to everybody in the league.
There we go, Nick. We appreciate you taking the time with us here, and hopefully next time we speak to you, either you pick up the stage victory or you're in victory lane, man, and good luck the rest of the way here at Las Vegas.
Thank you, sir.
Of course. That was Nick Alford, the admin here at High Octane Sim Racing, High Octane Sim Series. Got a little tongue-tied there, Mike. Man, this is the actions here get me a little dizzy here on the track, man, because that was a big win out of Nick here in stage one.
Definitely starting stage two, as we got a new race leader, and that's 33, I should say the 5, and Robert King. And Nick, great start there, jumping into P2 again.
He's living up to that name, Robert King, because the King dominated Las Vegas. And I'm speaking of Elvis Presley, if you're a little bit too young to know that reference. The King here is back at Vegas, and the King is dominating here. Climbed his way, as you mentioned, Mike. This is only his second or third race here in the High Octane Sim Series.
I believe so, yes.
Just showing the rookies are dominating here in the series. You saw Matthew Badby, another rookie here. If you want to give a shout out to Robert King, they're racing at Shrewsbury, Massachusetts there. He's a 23-year-old streamer that streams iRacing events. And if, ladies and gentlemen, if you're tuning in here at 10-4 Broadcasting, on your screen there, that is Robert's Twitch handle there. It is KSA_Fusion King. That is at Twitch TV. So definitely go give him a shout out there. Check him out on Twitch, man. You do want to tune into his broadcast, because if you want to do a split screen between us and his broadcast, man, he is dominating here. He's climbed his way up there, Mike, and only his second or third race here in the High Octane Sim Series, really giving these veterans a run for their money.
Definitely, as we see, new tires of Nick there in P2. He's coming. As Robert knows that there's new tires behind him, doesn't want to give any more pressure. We talked about it early on. All the chaos we've seen in the first half. Oh man. And I believe we're being told from pit lane that Bob Carroll and Brian Clark have both loaded up and headed to the house and headed to Richmond.
It's unfortunate for those drivers. An early retirement here in tonight's event. A lot of actions ensuing in this middle pack here, ladies and gentlemen. You see Matthew Badby right there in the 89. You see a lot of the tiny dog, I'm going to say big dog racing team up there. Parker Collins, Darren Staff, and Ryle Lewis. But Nick has climbed his way back up into the lead, Mike, as you mentioned, with those two tires, he has got more, as you mentioned, tackiness here on the track. And with those real weather settings, is it going to be more of a tire battle here towards the end, or more of a fuel window strategy, do you think?
I think it's going to be more of a fuel window strategy. I don't know how many tires sets they have left. We still got plenty of racing left to go, so definitely going to be a different ball game later in the run.
Talking about ball games, you'll see those three tiny dog racing machines are trying to find their groove, trying to find their move, as two teammates are linking up there on the inside lane there. I believe that's Ryan Lewis and Darren Staff in that 45 are going to go tandem on that inside lane there. And you see their teammate Parker Collins going to stay high side. And you see Matthew Wilson has climbed his way back up into the battle in that top five there. As I mentioned, ladies and gentlemen, even though you get caught up in early race action, man, your race is not over with. You still have an opportunity here in this event here at Las Vegas. As you see another battle for the lead ensuing between Bledsoe in that 42 and Nick Alford in that 22. You see Ryan Lewis in that 20 again has climbed his way back up there as well, Mike.
Definitely, this is turning out to be a great performance these drivers are putting on for us. As we see, oh man, look at all that battles. It's not just the lead. You got the battles for second, you got the battles for fourth. You got battles all over the track.
It is time to go to battle, queue up the Mel Gibson and the Gladiator references, because things are getting crazy here at Las Vegas as we're taking an onboard look here.
As we talked about, these drivers would be almost full speed the first couple laps, and then as we talked to Nick said, cars getting tighter and tighter, which means these drivers would be off the throttle just a tad sooner than expected.
I believe I got my movie references wrong there. Gladiator had Russell Crowe and Braveheart had Mel Gibson, but either way, things are getting crazy here on the track as we're taking an onboard look at that 42 machine of Bledsoe. And Mike, as you see, Nick's just got a lot more speed on those fresh tires there, but Bledsoe's not giving up in that 42. He's trying to ride that inside lane there. And from an experienced iRacer yourself, is that inside lane here at Vegas, is that the way to go, or do you think there's more speed as the weather changes, as the tires change throughout this race? There's more speed on the high side?
Well, to be honest with you, I think it's the middle groove actually is the fastest way around this track, to be honest with you.
Not the danger zone.
No, not the danger zone. Danger zone, I think, is the low side. I think the low side is definitely, yeah, it's going to be fast because they're definitely going faster on the inside. But it's also eat if the tires move. As we see, just a little bit of darkness there in the middle. You can say that's the works of a traction compound to be done a little bit on the track. But, you know, these valves heating up everywhere on the track. But the tightness is what Nick was saying earlier to us. That that's the one thing they're handling problems. So hopefully these drivers can get a little bit loose. One thing that you could do is take less fuel. Yes, it's a risk, but as far as I noticed, taking less fuel will help the handling of the car. But taking less fuel also makes it a gamble.
Yeah, and this is the track to gamble on, Mike, because we are in Vegas, the gambling capital of the world, if you will. So if there's ever a race to take those big shots, to take those gambles, to bet it all on black or red, whichever color you prefer on the table, this is the track to do it. As Nick mentioned, we are creeping up towards that playoff window, and man, these drivers are starting to see that window shut. So some of these boys on the track, as Nick mentioned, mathematically he has to pick up a race win to get himself into the playoffs. An eye out on that. We'll keep an eye out on just a few names I want to mention for you, ladies and gentlemen, during the broadcast here. Keeping an eye out on two drivers, 9 and 10 in the points table currently, going into tonight's race, and Derek Schilling is currently in P8, and James Brosker has slid after taking that race lead to start this race off. He has slid down into P12, so a few positions in between those two drivers. So definitely keep an eye out on those two on the track. Those two are 10 and 11 respectively in the points table currently. We'll see what plays out after tonight's event, because of course, as Nick mentioned, Richmond is the next track, and you don't want to put yourself in a pressure situation at a track like Richmond, right?
Definitely, you know, next week, yes, it's a short track, but guess what? We might have traction compound laid down for Richmond, so definitely, you know, your mindset is, okay, yeah, I've been to Richmond. I ran Richmond a couple times on the service, but guess what? You haven't ran it with the traction compound. The traction compounds you have to make it a whole different animal.
And for those unfamiliar with, let's say, racing terms or what you mean by track compound, kind of take the viewers through exactly what kind of differences you'll see next week if they do implement that here in iRacing.
Well, one thing you'll see differently is I think it was last year as we see, close battle there for the lead. We talked about, you know, how these drivers are getting tighter. You know, we just seen that there with Allen. You know, he got tight and came up a little bit into Nick. But as we were talking about the traction compound, or the PJ1, so to say, we've seen NASCAR put that down in 2020 and a little bit in 2021, basically to help the racing. Because there wasn't any practice, the drivers would just show up and race. So basically the PJ1 is a resin that makes the tires stick a lot more, gives it more racing side by side. So hopefully, you know, with basically what's rumored to come to iRacing, you know, that's definitely put side by side racing for Richmond in a perfect situation.
Indeed, Mike, and I appreciate you breaking that down for us here, for the viewers and for me up here in the booth, because I wasn't quite sure. I know like traction, like compound and all that stuff, but to see it actually being implemented into iRacing is definitely going to be a sight to see next week at Richmond, a track that was known to eat up drivers, if you will. And for these drivers that are just outside the playoffs, Mike, it's going to be a lot on the line next week if they can't pick up that race victory here tonight. As we're watching a battle ensuing right now, that's Derek Schilling with Matthew Wilson right behind him. And again, we do want to welcome Matthew back into the series here tonight. It's awesome to see that 48 machine back out on the track. And I know it's been a rough week to say the least for Matthew in that 48. But again, we do want to special shout out to him of making tonight's event. And it is awesome to see him back in the track racing with these boys here in the High Octane Sim Series. And speaking of Matthew, I believe if I can go ahead and pull up those point standings. Matthew Wilson is again one of those drivers is right in that position with Nick, just outside of the top 10. So a race victory is probably what he needs to get here tonight to lock himself into the playoffs. There's a lot of drivers just outside the top 10 that need to pick up that race win, because mathematically it's going to take that to put them into the playoffs. And Mike keeping an eye out on the action on the track here. We are at lap 70 here in the High Octane Sim Series at Las Vegas. Nick Alford has not let up from where he took the stage 1 victory. But he mentioned, Mike, that he needs that victory here tonight. Not just stage wins and not just awesome positions to end the stages. He needs a race win to put himself in the playoffs.
Yeah, he talked about it, how he missed a couple of races due to his, I guess, his work schedule. So he's looking for that final W to lock himself into the championship.
I'm not sure, Mike. Keeping an eye on the point standings as we see a battle ensuing between teammates there, between Darren Staff and Parker Collins. One of the drivers we saw take an early retirement in tonight's race was Brian Clark. In that 31, you saw him go ahead and pack up that trailer to head to Richmond. But Brian's barely hanging on to that 8th position there with a total of 289. And then you got Nicholas Schell at 288. And then, of course, it drops down a little bit to Derek Schilling at 253. But with a DNF here tonight, that's going to be pretty shaking up those last 3 positions in the table.
Definitely. I think this race is shake it up to be a different type of race. We see drivers do good, we see drivers do bad, and just because he parked it early on doesn't mean he's out of it. Next week is Richmond, different ball game as we talked about with the traction compound. Actually, PJ1 coming in hopefully. He's rumored on social media from Tyler Hudson, which is an iRacing staff official and a former World Series champion. As we see battle for the lead here, as Allen's going to try to run the outside.
You see Ryan Lewis is another one of those drivers that needs to, he's just outside the top 10 in a P12 in the points table right now. But again, mathematically, as Nick mentions, for some of these drivers that have to be a race win to put them into the playoffs, because mathematically they can't do enough to put themselves in. We saw Rye really picking up a lot of momentum throughout the weeks. We struggled as we started the broadcast here at 10-4 Broadcasting in the High Octane Sim Series. But throughout the weeks, you saw him really building up a lot of momentum, a lot of speed there at Tiny Dog Racing, kind of overshadowed from the rest of the drivers of Parker Collins and Darren Staff. And Rye was one of those drivers that kind of just tangled right behind them. But you see him now battling for the lead here with Bledsoe. Going to go to the inside lane. As we're seeing, Nick Alford is going down pit road to go ahead and get his green flag pit stop out of the way here, ladies and gentlemen, as we're on lap 76 here at Las Vegas. This stage 2 is going to be a total of 90 laps. So go ahead and get those pit stops out of the way with 24 laps to go here.
Definitely, we see not just Nick in pit road, but Parker Collins. We see the 45 of Darren in there in the 54. Yep, the 54, the 81, 51, and the 5 all in pit road. as the battle for the lead is heating up, as Ryan Lewis is now your race leader.
Another great showing out of Tiny Dog Racing Team there. You see it out of Parker Collins, you see it out of Darren Staff, but now Ryan Lewis said it's my time to shine here on the team. He is leading the way here at Las Vegas, racking up some awesome laps led here, trying to build up as many points as he can, but it just won't be enough, ladies and gentlemen. He has to put that 20 Toyota Supra into victory lane here tonight. See if he can do that, Mike, but he has to make that green flag pit stop here pretty soon. Only, I believe my math was a tad bit wrong there. It's 12 laps to go here in stage 2. Math was never my strong suit in school. It was always talking, and I enjoy talking here on the broadcast here with you all, bringing you live action out of the High Octane Sim Series, Mike. And we see Rise all by himself up there.
Yes, we've seen, just after he took the lead, we've seen Alan Bledsoe stuck down pit road. So we do have a new second place as in Nick Compton. So we got Ryan Lewis, Nick Compton, Derek showing in the top 3 as Derek is now coming down pit road. So Matthew Wilson has now taken over third place.
We want to give a special shout out to the chat there. We do have some race fans in the chat. Shout out to Stephen Wolfram. It says, go Tiny Dog Racing. We invite that for the viewers to shout out your favorite race team, your favorite drivers in that chat. We'll make sure those drivers, I know a lot of drivers listen to the broadcast as they're racing. We'll make sure they hear those shout outs, they hear those fans cheering them on here in the High Octane Sim Series. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have less than 9 laps to go here in stage 2. Like Nick said, the action has started to simmer down just a tad here. As we saw stage 1, we had 5 or 6 cautions. Mike, man, things have gone a totally different direction here in stage 2, as we haven't had any cautions here in stage 2.
Don't jinx it yet now, still keep going. We got about 9 laps here before the end of the stage, so let's not jinx that word.
We do have another fan in the chat. That's CJ Orendorf. I'm sorry if I butchered your last name there, CJ. He's shouting out. Let's go number 33. I believe the 33 machine is Robert King, who is a new driver here at High Octane Sim Series. But we saw Robert climb up to that lead, Mike. I'm not quite sure what happened to him as he's getting shuffled down into that back of the pack there. And Steven says he is on that team with Robert.
He did come on down pit road, so looks like everything is still cycling through right now at the moment. So Nick Offord is your first car 1 lap down at the moment. As soon as he gets by James here with the first car, fresh tires. Now staying out this long, you know, it does hurt because you want to be the first car on pit road, but then you also want to be, you know, not the last car on pit road. You know,
yeah, but as we mentioned, Mike, if there's ever a track to take those big gambles, it is here at Las Vegas, the gambling capital of the world. As we see Rise all by himself up there. He's got the tunes going in that machine. He's singing all by himself up there in that lead position. But as you mentioned, Mike, he has to make that pit stop here pretty soon. And once he does, he's going to lose a lot of track position in the process.
Yes, definitely. We see, as we see lap times there at the line.
Now, my question to you, Mike, can he make it? Can he make it the rest of the stage?
Oh, let's see. Maybe. I think that's what he's trying to do, push it to the end of the stage. We only got 3 cars left on the lead lap, with Ryan Lewis, Matthew Wilson, and the 89 of Matthew as well. Also, the 3 cars left in the lead lap, while Nick Offord, you know, as we see here, running, I believe, yes, 31.5s when the leaders are running 32.1s. So not much of a difference. Oh, here we go. Nick Offord, you see him in the mirror. Matthew Wilson is now coming on down pit road to give up third place. And as we
there
talked
goes
about,
Rye.
So Nick Offord will take over the race lead here.
Speaking of that 89 machine there of Matthew Badby, he does have a fan in the chat. Fade9 is shouting him out, saying, "Come on, Matthew Badby." Man, as you see him head down pit road here, and Matthew has 4 wins on the season, ladies and gentlemen. He has won half the races so far in this season, so he is definitely the car to keep an eye out for here. As we all know, we've seen it before. Kevin Harvick a few years ago won about 8 or 9 races and got eliminated right before the top 4 drivers there in the chase. So even though you might rack up that regular season championship, rack up a bunch of wins, doesn't mean that you can take home the ultimate prize, and that's the championship here in the High Octane Sim Series. As we see, Nick Offord is picking up right where he left off in Stage 1. He is now our race leader on the track here. Next time across that line, we're going to be less than 2 laps to go here in Stage 2.
And Nick Offord going up in the lead. We're looking at 2.25 second difference here.
Nick's really just found his speed here at Vegas, Mike, and we've seen Nick throughout the weeks. As he mentioned, it hasn't been the best season for him per se, but I think he's found his Emperor's new groove here tonight at Las Vegas, as he is going to go ahead and, I think, cruise to the Stage 2 victory, if I'm not mistaken, Mike. I think that lead might just be a little bit insurmountable for those guys behind him.
Not going to jinx it just yet, but you know, if you clip that apron just a tad bit, it can really, hurt you long run. So I'm not going to jinx it just yet, but as of right now, Nick's almost got it locked in here.
He does indeed. As he's going to cross this line, he's going to take the white flag here of Stage 2, and Nick's just racing his way into victory lane. But as we spoke to Nick after he picked up that Stage 1 victory, and he's going to get that Stage 2 victory here as that competitive caution comes out here, and he needs to put that machine into victory lane. These stage wins are a big deal, and they are awesome for you in those point standings, but he does need to put that 22 machine into victory lane to have a shot at the championship, Mike.
Yes, definitely. You said that he missed a couple races, so he was basically mathematically out on points, so he's all for broke here.
Indeed, but I know one thing that could help him out in that machine, Mike, and that is some awesome barbecue. And we can't get enough of that barbecue up here in the 10-4 broadcasting booth. And we do want to give a shout out to the ones supplying us with all the ribs, all the pulled pork, all the smoked turkey, all those steaks, all that awesome stuff out of Captain Jack's Smokehouse there at Amelia Island. Man, bringing that smoke just like we're seeing the smoke here on the track. Go check them out on Facebook, Google, and if you're local to Amelia Island there, see if they have a DoorDash account, anybody that might deliver that food. If not, it is worth it to go ahead and place your pickup order. If you want to grab that food, come back and watch the end of this race. That is the place to check it out. Captain Jack's Smokehouse there at Amelia Island, man. Can't get enough of that barbecue up here in the booth, Mike.
Definitely, and I think I don't want to post any pictures up on the stream, but I think because that might be getting people a lot more hungry than expected. So I think we're going to keep action on the track more than on the food.
No smell of vision here at 10-4 Broadcasting, but just take our word for it. That barbecue is worth the research to see where you can find them, see if they can DoorDash you some awesome barbecue, or if you can just go pick it up from them. Man, it is awesome up here, man. I can't get the smoke smell out of my clothes, but that is all right. I'll take it. Yeah, taking a look at that chat there, we'll see we got a fan that says the 5 needs to fire whoever paints those cars. That is the 5 of Robert King there, who put his logo on the top of that machine there. But he is a special sponsoring himself there, if you will, and he has a Twitch account if you want to go check him out to get a first-person point of view of what's taking place in that 5 machine. is a new driver here in the High Octane Sim Series. And there you go, ladies and gentlemen. There is his Twitch handle right there on the screen if you want to go give him a look just to see what his point of view is on the track. You know, a lot of these racers here, they either stream or they listen to the broadcast as they are racing. So if you want to shout out your favorite driver or if you're your favorite team, go ahead and do so in the chat. We'll make sure those drivers hear you and see if you can cheer on one of your favorite drivers into victory lane here, ladies and gentlemen, as we are under caution here at the end of stage 2. And Mike, that was a totally different stage than what we saw in stage 1.
Definitely. Stage 1, we've seen a lot of people trying to push the issue, trying to, see what the track can do. And a lot of people learned you can't push it. You can't. You can't. Yes. Being told by our couple people here that actually he's in chat. KSA Fusion King says he is not live tonight, but definitely check him out and tell him we
see
sent
what he's
you.
got going on the stream. Speaking of Twitch, Mike, as we're under caution here at the High Octane Sim Series at Las Vegas, we're going to start up stage 3 here. I was cruising around Twitch last night and I actually found Natalie Decker is not only an iRacing streamer, but she also produces her own races there for iRacing. So that was awesome to see her not only giving commentary on the race, but also producing and building those races. And I had no idea of how talented she was, not only on the track, but off the track as well. So if you do get an opportunity, if you want to follow a professional race car driver on Twitch, go check out Natalie Decker. Man, that was awesome to see last night of her doing the same thing we do up here at 10-4 Broadcasting, but definitely from a different point of view, if you will. I think she was following one of her favorite drivers there in the Road to Pro Series last night. So if you were cruising around Twitch trying to find Robert's account, definitely go see if you can find Natalie Decker's account on there as well, because that was an awesome show last night. But speaking of shows, ladies and gentlemen, we have had quite the show here at the High Octane Sim Series at Las Vegas. Stage 1, I'd say it was the calamity stage. We had wrecks every, I'd say, about 2 laps. Man, it was crazy. We saw a lot of the big names get tangled up. Saw them actually climb back up into these lead positions here. Stage 2, I would say, was very zen. It was almost like a zen garden, if you will. Those laps just flew by in stage 2, and Nick climbed his way back up into the lead there in stage 2 and just didn't really look back at all. It just took over from Bledsoe in that 42, and you see Bledsoe's going to start way out of the lead there. Going to start off, I'd say, P10 there. As you see, that pace truck's going to go ahead and peel off here, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to go back racing here to start off stage 3 in the High Octane Sim Series at Vegas. Oh, let's go racing. See that name that we've mentioned throughout the broadcast here. That's Derek Schilling now leading the way here at Vegas, and he was one of the names I mentioned to start off this broadcast because it was him and James Brosker at 10 and 11 position in the points table, and it's going to be the top 10 that are locked into the playoffs. But boy, if he can get that race victory here tonight, that would all but wrap up his chances into the playoffs. He would be in and locked in no matter his position on the table with a race win here tonight. And Mike, he has climbed and clawed his way up into the top. We'll see if he can keep that fender right in front of Nick in that 22. And we do have another caution on the track, ladies and gentlemen. We'll get that 10-4 broadcasting replay revved up for you. That was the 51. Looks like that was tagged up in that.
Definitely get that replay checked out here.
That was Thomas in that 51. May have gotten tangled up in some action just outside our point of view there. But of course, we'll get that 10-4 broadcasting replay revved up for you to see exactly what occurred that brought out the 7th caution of the night here, ladies and gentlemen. Ooh. You see Thomas just come down on that 51, and Allen was right there in that 42, and I had just mentioned how that 42 was in a kind of a bad restart position to start off this go. And you saw the 51 just sort of creep, shout out to TLC there, creep just down the track just a little bit, and just didn't know where the Bledsoe was in that 42.
Yeah, definitely take a rear look at that here. We heard him just get off the throttle a tad bit. Yeah.
And Mike, if you want to take the viewers how difficult that situation is for the drivers in this simulator to know your track position, to know who's to your right, to your left, and how nerve-wracking it is to know when to file back down and when to make those moves.
No, that's definitely hard. You know, I think the 51 of Thomas thought that Allen was going to go and use the apron to try to, get a little bit more speed off, and didn't expect him to be there on the bottom. But it's hard to predict that type of action will happen. I mean, we see that other tracks, drivers may or may not go down, but that's something you can't predict.
And not Mike. And man, this has been a wild event so far here in the High Octane Sim Series. And speaking of wild, I'm going to see if we can't get our race leader into the 10-4 broadcasting booth, as we may have just another couple of laps under caution here, Mike. I'm going to see if we can't get a chat with Derek Schilling there from HT Gaming there, just to see exactly what his take is on there. We can't get him into the broadcast booth here real quick here, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, Derek, it's Mike and Will up here in the 10-4 broadcasting booth. You get a copy?
How you guys doing?
Oh, man, we are doing awesome, rocking and rolling at Vegas here tonight, but we are not doing better than you, man. You have clawed your way up into the top, man. What a way to put your car in position to take home this race victory. As we mentioned, you were just only 8 points ahead of James there at the table for that last playoff spot. Kind of take us through how this race has played out for you so far.
Well, it's not been the prettiest one, that's for sure. Getting involved in a couple of incidents, one on my own, one just victim of circumstance. But a lot of it's just been common, a lot of pit strategy. The last two stages, or the two stages on pits, I took 2 tires, which kind of helped me out get past Nick on this last stage to get me out here. And it seems like a lot of clean air is best way to go. So.
Yeah, we heard from Nick after he picked up that stage victory of that 2-tire pit stop was the plan for him, and it led to his stage victory. And you just you got that thing out front now. Do you think that the tire strategy is going to be the thing that plays out the rest of the race here?
Yeah, I do got to thank him for that, because I got your guys' broadcast going. So I heard him talk about 2 tires. So I thought, well, I'll give it a try. And it seems to be working. And I think who's ever got I wouldn't say the newest tires, but the a set at the end is about 10 laps old. Scuff's going to be the way to go.
Yeah, we saw stage 2 was a lot more zen than stage 1, but we've seen a few drivers climb their way back up into that lead. And as I mentioned, you only have an 8-point lead on James Brosker for that last playoff spot. But man, if you can get that thing into victory lane, that'll go ahead and lock your way into the playoffs.
Well, right now that's the complete plan. It's just trying to hold off these faster guys behind me that I know are very quick guys, like Nick and Nick Alford and Nick Compton, both very fast guys. So if I can hold them off, or maybe they just wreck each other, that'd really help me out.
Of course, see everybody wrecking in front of you. That's the way to go, man. But before we let you go back into racing, is there anybody that you want to give a special shout out to or any sponsors you have on that side of that car here tonight?
Derek Line, he paints all of our cars and really helps out HT Gaming. So want to give a shout out to him and all the admins that take care of the league.
Awesome, man. Well, good luck the rest of the way, and hopefully the next time we talk to you, you're in victory lane, and we'll pick up back up at you at the end of the race here.
All right, thank you guys.
Of course. Let's go racing. As you see, Derek's going to take that green flag to start things off here at this restart. And as we mentioned, he is holding on to that last playoff spot there. But if he comes home with that race victory tonight, that'll solidify his spot into the playoffs here, ladies and gentlemen, as he's going to lead the field down into 1 and 2. Oh, big moves on the backstretch there. As you see, those big dog racing teammates are coming up, led by Ryan Lewis in that 20. He's digging on that inside lane there. As you see, Parker Collins and Darren Staff, that 45 and that 54 right there behind their teammate. As you see, Ryan Lewis, Derek Schilling are going to go side by side here, going down into 1. Oh my goodness, they almost touched there, going down into the corner. Mike, the Big Dog Racing team has come out to play here tonight. Shout out to Baja, man, because they have let the dogs out. As you see, Ryan Lewis is going to the inside lane there with Parker Collins in that 54 right behind him. As you see, Darren Staff's trying to go to the outside, man. They are just trying to tackle Derek out of that lead spot there. Oh, man. As you saw Parker get into that danger zone lane and get really loose.
Ooh, as we see 80 and Nicholas Compton. Got a little contact with the inside wall.
It is all good to go here, ladies and gentlemen, as that was a single car incident. So we are still racing under green here. Talking about racing under green, Mike, we have big battles ensuing for the lead here at the top.
Most definitely, and I believe we have Captain Jack's Smokehouse. You know, they've been so kind to bring us some barbecue during the race that they said their money is on Nick. Oh man, anything can happen here in the last 75 laps to go.
Shout out to Captain Jack Smokehouse there. Like I said, I love the smell of smoked barbecue, so if we can go ahead and bottle that up and put it into a perfume bottle, I would rock that thing all day long. But we are rocking with Ryan Lewis is now our new race leader, as the Big Dog Racing team has taken over this lead pack here, ladies and gentlemen. I've been mentioning them throughout the broadcast here. They have really come on strong here the last couple weeks here in the High Octane Sim Series. And boy, they are letting their teammate Ryan Lewis shine up at the top there, but I don't know if the teammate situation is going to come into play, but it may, Mike, because Ryan Lewis is outside of that playoff spot, so it might take those teammates pushing him across the line here at the end.
We see an unfamiliar face up front. You know, after everything that happened in the first stage, you know, we're seeing new players come play. And Robert King in that 5 actually is coming to play.
The Warriors do indeed come out to play here, ladies and gentlemen. As we're keeping an eye out on Robert King in that 5. He's trying to position himself amongst those race leaders there. You see Nick Alford in that 22. Derek Schilling is now falling down into P6 now on the track. A lot of battles ensuing up here, Mike. And as we talked to Derek just a second ago there, he's kind of keeping his eye on the calamity that's going to happen at the top of this pack here. Kind of just waiting his turn to see what kind of action ensues there. And maybe he's just slide his way into victory, as if the leaders might take themselves out here, ladies and gentlemen. But we'll go ahead and jump to that second pack there. And see, as you see, Matthew Badby is now caught up to this pack here. You see a few drivers just running on the tail end of this pack. A few drivers that have had a rough night, so to say. You see Kelly Thomas in that 51, and Matthew Wilson in that 48. Great to see Matthew back up on the track here. James Brosker in that 3. Whoa, as you see big action already ensuing.
Wow.
Oh no! Wow!
It's like Robert got a little loose.
Man, that takes some driver skill to save that machine, and I'm sure Matthew Badby got really anxious behind that simulator as you saw that car come right down in the front of that fender. Man, that was close.
See if we can check on a replay and see exactly what happened here.
Love up that 10-4 broadcast and replay for you, ladies and gentlemen, to see exactly what happened there. That was some driving from both of those drivers, not only from Robert King there in that 5, but also Matthew Badby in the 89 to hold his line, to not get nervous, to not get anxious behind that simulator, to hang onto that machine as you saw the 5 just swing right down in front of him. You see the 42 give the 5 just a little love tap up the track, comes up, bounces off the wall there, comes down. Oh man, he may have touched the 89 just a tad there on the fender, but man, what a job of both those drivers to save those machines, Mike.
Definitely, we hear the cops, coming. I wonder if they're coming for Robert for that little, or not Robert, Allen, for that little bit of a bump. But guess what? Just because that little bump, he's still coming, and he's going to be hungry for more. As we are going to go back, live action here. As the 5 is now in that second pack. But we talked about this in our first broadcast here with these guys. Getting with the draft. Now that you're in the second pack, work together. We see single file here, but if we get the pack, ooh, so another in contact. The 5 and the 80.
That 5 is trying to climb his way up there, trying to put that 5 machine into victory lane to solidify his spot into the playoffs here and close the door on some of these drivers that are mathematically out of it. Man, Richmond is going to be an intense race next week, ladies and gentlemen. But back up into the lead battles here, we see those big dog racing teams. They officially go by the tiny dog racing, but there has been nothing tiny about them throughout the weeks, as Darren Staff, Parker Collins, and now their teammate Ryan Lewis is starting to show his stuff here in the High Octane Sim Series.
Definitely, and if you guys are looking for a amazing Friday night action racing series to be a part of, this is the series to be. We're looking, from what I was browsing through Discord, that Season 3, we're looking at the next-gen cars. So if you're looking for some, late Friday night action, come check out these guys.
Check them out on Facebook. It is an easy search. All you gotta type in is High Octane Sim Series. It pops right up like that. They have a Facebook on there, of course. Check them out on Discord as well if you want to keep up with all the action. Like I mentioned throughout this broadcast, they have 2 sets of leagues. They have an Xfinity Series and also this Cup Series. We are giving you this live action out of the Cup Series here. These are the big dogs here at the High Octane Sim Series. This thing has got a little hairy between Parker Collins and Nick Offord. They're heading down into the corner, and things are heating up here pretty intensely, ladies and gentlemen. We appreciate everybody for tuning in here tonight here at 10-4 Broadcasting. We take a onboard look. I believe that is keeping an eye on seeing that's Nick Offord in that 22 there. He's got somebody right to his left there, ladies and gentlemen, right where this camera is positioned. We go side by side there. Nope. Parker filed right back behind him. Just starting to see things fan out a little bit, Mike, here in the going to have about 60 laps to go. Is it just because the tires are starting to kind of put a little bit of wear on them, or is it just starting to, because we didn't see this in the first 2 stages, could it be the real weather situation starting to kick in here? What do you think's causing things to file out a little bit?
Well, we're going back to the race information tab. As we see, the track has dropped 1 degree since the start of this race. So we're looking at 81 degrees, which means the track is getting tighter. And that's when these drivers are having a hard time battling is the tightness of this car.
Yeah, and you didn't see it at the first two stages, Mike. You saw a lot of the battles ensuing between packs of cars. It was real. We saw a lot of three-wide racing, a lot of calamity happening in stage 1. Stage 2 was a lot more zen, but you saw the cars pack up a little bit more in stage 2. Now in stage 3 here in the late stages of this race, things are starting to fan out just a tad more here at Las Vegas. And you see Raya is now starting to build up that lead. He's almost up to a second lead on second place. And man, Mike, for somebody who's raced this track before, has a lot of experience here at Vegas, what is it going to take for those guys to start to pull that leader back in a little bit? Is it going to take that green flag pit stop strategy, or is it just going to be trying to find your tandem partner and you're climbing your way back up there?
It's not going to be more of a tandem partner, especially for these cars just yet. The one thing that you're going to want to do is just, you got to hit your marks. Keep hitting them. And then, work with the guy in front of you, work with the guy behind you. If one guy's faster in one corner, let him by. We still got plenty of laps to go. We're looking at about 68 laps to go.
Indeed, and as awesome as it is to see Ray Lewis leading the pack here at Las Vegas in the High Octane Sim Series, he is one of those drivers that needs to put that machine into victory lane along with Nick Offord here. Those drivers are basically mathematically out of things right now, but if they pick up that race victory here in the High Octane Sim Series, they lock themselves into the playoffs. I love that. I love that mathematics there. If you can just pick up a race victory, you don't have to worry about anything else the rest of the season, Mike.
Most definitely. Ryan Lewis, your race leader, followed by Alan Bledsoe and Nick Offord in P3. Patrick Collins, his teammates of your race leader, he's in P4, followed by teammate Darren Stroff. Derek Showing, we talked to him before. P6 with Kelly Thomas, P7. And we got the Matthews back to back.
At P7 is where things. At P7 is where you start to see things drop off there. After Derek Schilling in that 87, there's about a 4-second difference between those drivers. So it's really a 6-car battle up here at the top of this lead pack. And then after that 7th position, as you mentioned, Kelly Thomas is in P7. Matthew Badby, our points leader, is having a bit of a struggle here tonight. We haven't really seen him run in that lead pack much here tonight. He's one of those cars that was caught up in some early action there. We saw him just avoid a major accident with Robert King there. Great driving to hold his line there. Kind of just cruising around here at the track at Vegas. Maybe concerned about getting to the tables, get back to the casino after this race is over with. Because as I mentioned, he's got 4 wins on the season. After Matthew, it's Wilson in that 48 there. It's great to see him back out on the track racing with us here at the High Octane Sim Series. It has been a very difficult week for Matthew Wilson in that 48. So if you want some information about how to help out Matthew Wilson and his family, go check us out at 10-4 Broadcasting. We have the GoFundMe page tagged on last week's race on there. But of course, you can jump over to High Octane Sim Series and send them a message to see how you can help out Matthew Wilson and his family throughout this difficult time. But again, it's awesome to see that 48 back on the track, Mike. But here we go. These are green flag pit stops.
Yes, Alan, Ryan, Darren, and Kelly all down pit road. Meanwhile, up front, your race leader is Nick Offord, followed by their teammate, and that was in the pits, Patrick Collins, sitting in P2.
And Mike, I love to do this to you, but I'll run a hypothetical for you. If you were racing in tonight's event and you knew this was probably going to be either probably going to have 2 pit stops left, maybe if things continue the way they are with no yellow flags or anything, what would your strategy be heading down pit road here under green?
Wow. My strategy, if I was leading or if I was more in the back of the field.
Either or. I mean, would you do a splash and go, or would you throw some tires on there? How would you try to anticipate that you're gonna have one more pit stop left here in tonight's event, or kind of take the viewers through if you were in the car racing here tonight, of what your strategy would be to close out this race?
Well, if I didn't have any wins on the season, I would gamble. Or if I had wins on the season, I'd gamble. My philosophy would be, if the race is coming to me, and the track feels more comfortable, I would maybe just take right side tires and fuel. If I was in the back of the pack, say 6 or 7, I would gamble, heavy gamble. I would take about 16 gallons of fuel in the car, total 4 tires, and go. That's one thing that my team has noticed, that you could do it in these type of cars. The new Gen 7 cars are definitely different ball game. But yeah, I'd definitely take less fuel. Yes, it would be a gamble, but to me the car would handle a little different.
We'll see which strategy pays off, Mike. We appreciate that insight here. Of course, Mike, you are an iRacer yourself, so you have let's say a more perspective of what actually takes place here on the track. You know, a lot of experience racing at Vegas as well. But we have a new race leader on the track here at Las Vegas, ladies and gentlemen. That is Parker Collins. I'm going to rename that team the Big Dog Racing Team because, man, they have showed out the last couple weeks, and Parker is now in the lead. He raced really well at the road course at Daytona last week. Picked up I believe, a race victory the week before that, if I'm not mistaken. So those boys out of the Big Dog Racing League, or Big Dog Racing Team, have shown out here. And as you see, Parker is now in the lead in that 54. But Nick is not giving up in that 22 here, as you see him pick up a lot of speed heading down into the corner here, thinking about that inside lane. Nick's kind of ran that inside lane the majority of tonight's event. Could be why he only takes 2 tires on those pit stops, putting a lot of wear on those left sides. And you see him kind of thinking about a hole there. Taking an onboard look at Nick Offord there as you see him head down pit road here under green.
Yes, Nick Offord coming down pit road. We've seen that on board. And here's the thing, you know, coming down pit road, he did push it those last 2 laps. Now, does he take 4 tires, or does he just take smash and go?
For Nick, as you mentioned, Mike, for a driver that's outside of that playoff chase right there, I think it's time to gamble. It's time to put it all on the line. It's time to make those big risks. It's time to make decisions that you might not make if you were racing a regular race. But as Nick mentioned, with Richmond coming up next week, it is time to make those moves here at Las Vegas.
Most definitely. You see Nick just take 2 tires on that pit stop. It looks like he took 2 tires, so I'm going to check my sources here.
As Mike is heading down pit road to see exactly what's taking place down there, you see Bledsoe is now going to climb his 42 machine back up into the lead, overtake Parker there, heading down into 1. And man, Bledsoe has now found his lane back on the track, but I believe, if I'm looking at this correctly, Bledsoe may have been a lap down there. I think he just got his lap back, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, this is actually danger for Parker. He should come on down pit road here shortly. You don't want to let too many cars ahead of you that already have pitted because there are fresher tires. But I did double check my sources. Looks like he did take 2 tires on that pit stop. So looks like it's going to be game time here.
And Mike, I think I might see a bit of a strategy being played out here, ladies and gentlemen. I don't want to be a Mystic Mac, if you will, and predict these things, but I see Ry Lewis and Darren Staff went ahead and made their pit stops, and Parker stayed out. So if that's something to keep an eye out towards these last 40 laps or so, you'll see once things shake back out, it's going to be Ry Lewis and Darren Staff probably overtaking there. As you see, Bledsoe and a few drivers are right in front of them on that grid there. James Brosker's up there in the 3 as well, but they're going to shuffle out, Mike, to be up there in the top 5. And as they're doing so, Parker Collins is leading the way here at Vegas. But man, that might be a strategy to keep an eye out, Mike.
Most definitely.
Might be something where one teammate stays out, the other 2 pit, just so that car stays out on the track to lead this thing. But of course, Ry is one of those drivers. There he goes.
This also could have been a teammate gamble. Couple stay out. Further person that's still on track, stays out and tries to, slows the field down a little bit, or slows the pace down.
I was keeping.
That is one thing that
right.
The strategy for teammates here.
And you see our points leaders in the pit stall right in front of Parker there, so he's heading down pit road with Parker there, but it's now Bledsoe on that 42 there. Where did you go? Where did you come from? Because, man, he is back up there in the lead. He kind of kept it zen there in the past couple of stages, but he is back up in that lead in that 42 machine. Every time I see that 42, I think about Juan Pablo Montoya. He didn't have quite the successful career in the NASCAR Cup Series, but once he jumped back over to Indy, he picked up the Indy 500 victory. So, man, he is a talented driver. I'll never forget at Charlotte Motor Speedway, him running into the quick drive machine on the track. That was something crazy to see.
That was actually Daytona.
That was Daytona. Okay, because yes. I think he had an incident at Charlotte too. I remember.
Yes, that's exactly correct. That's where I believe at Daytona where they introduced the Tide commercial, where they were putting Tide on the racetrack.
And you don't want to run into a jet dryer, ladies and gentlemen. Those are jet engines on the back of those things. So lucky there wasn't a big incident there, but keep an eye out on that 42 here in tonight's event. That 42 has ran in the top 5 the majority of the race here. Kind of got shuffled back a little bit throughout those green flag pit stops and a few of those things, but racing out of Kenny Power Motorsports there. Shout out to Danny McBride there in Eastbound and Down. I'm currently watching the Righteous Gemstones, so almost the same character in that series, but Alan Bledsoe in that 42 there. Man, Mike, he is putting himself in that awesome position in the late stages of tonight's event.
Most definitely, but here's the thing, we see Nick, battle from the back to the front. I think Nick is going to come up and take this victory, but we'll see what happens. I believe might have maybe one more pit stop, so that might be the gamble, the money stop there.
Yeah, and as I mentioned just a little while ago, ladies and gentlemen, we saw that Parker Collins stayed out and his teammates pit. As you see, Ry Lewis in that 20 and Darren Staff are now running 2-3 on the track. They were running up quick on Bledsoe in that 42. So that was a strategy of, like Mike said, where one teammate takes a gamble, stays out on the track, kind of slows the pace or leads a bunch of laps just to make sure their teammates come out shuffled 2-3 on the track. And I think it might be a strategy to put that 20 machine in victory lane tonight, because as I mentioned, Ry Lewis is just outside the top 10, whereas his teammates are locked into the playoffs. You see that Parker Collins has a race win, 2 race wins on the season, so he is locked in. You see going down the points table here, Darren Staff's in the 7th position, not in a comfortable position per se, but he has got himself locked in there as well. But Ry Lewis is just outside in 12th position, so this might be an opportunity to put that 20 machine in victory lane to make sure those Tiny Dog racing machines are all in the playoffs here, ladies and gentlemen, with Richmond coming up next week.
Definitely, and Richmond definitely going to be a different story than it has been on iRacing, especially in race weekends past, at the rumor of the Traction Compound or the PJ1 is going to be introduced to iRacing service. So that's something to look forward to. We don't know confirmation as far as all the tracks that it's getting applied to, but we're looking forward to seeing what kind of action that these drivers could do, especially with the PJ1 order traction compound.
Yeah, taking a look at the bio of Bledsoe there in that 42, Alan Bledsoe, he's 29 years old, racing out of Missouri there. He's a worker box truck driver, but one of the things I want to mention, ladies and gentlemen, in his bio, he says that he started the H.O.S.S race, 4th race of the season, season 1, missed the playoffs, then lost the best of the rest to Derek Mullane, the 88, when I had it in the bag. Looking for a rebound, and man, what a rebound it is so far in that 42. Taking a look at the point standings again there, ladies and gentlemen. Allen has got himself right up there, right outside of those drivers that have locked themselves in the playoffs. He actually has the most points of the drivers without a win so far in tonight's, as he mentioned in his bio as well. So racing really strong here tonight. It could be that experience being a box truck driver. He does driving for a living, so a lot of experience heading down into the track here. He actually started racing in iRacing when he was 10 years old, but got banned from his mom. I think we all get banned from video games when we're young there. Picked it back up with 18, started with Inside the Lane. He's been playing NASCAR games ever since. Says he's an above average driver, if you will. He has no force feedback on that wheel, Mike. And for those unfamiliar with iRacing, what does that exactly mean, no force feedback?
Wow, no force feedback. So one thing that I was taught is, and I'm still learning as we're going on, is as we got a battle for second place here. No, that's not a battle. Sorry, I apologize. In these Cup cars, you want to try to run less force feedback. That's one thing I was told by those higher drivers. And a lot of them only run maybe say 2 or 3 force feedback in the sim, and depending on what kind of wheel you run, I believe that's where the force feedback they're getting. So these cars don't need a lot of force feedback, honestly, as we have pit stops there. Ryan Lewis and Darren, teammates on pit road.
Does that give him like an advantage or a disadvantage on the track having no force feedback in the wheel?
That, I think, from personal experience, it gives you bad advantage or negative advantage, because you don't feel the track moving. You don't feel the car getting loose. You don't feel the car getting tighter. You're just seeing it. You're hearing the tire squeal with your ears. That's a couple things that you learn. As we have a new race leader, as in Kelly Thomas has now taken center point with Allen in the ducking down pit road, as well as Derek showing. But yeah, running no force feedback, yes, there is a disadvantage in my opinion, because if you were to get wrecked, what are you feeling?
Now, could that just come from his experience or from his racing background, or virtual racing, if you will, racing on the console? Because as I mentioned in his bio, he came up racing like NASCAR in Inside Lane. So a lot of his experience would come from a controller. So could it just be that he's more comfortable with that aspect of racing, where he doesn't feel it like, say, on a controller per se? You just kind of feel when you make contact with something with the vibration of the controller.
Yes, going from a controller
That way.
to wheel is definitely a different animal. It's like playing a Madden game and then going out and driving your real car to like the gas station or something. You have to have that mindset. If you were to get in a crash, say you go out, just hypothetically, you go out, go down to the gas station, and someone hits you. Do you feel that in your wheel, the hit, or do you feel it more in the car? So that's where I put it into different terms, is that if you get hit on a real car, and you don't feel it, something is wrong. Or if, say, you're going down the road and you hit black ice, you need to feel the car, re-get control. So that's something that you always want to do. In my opinion, my personal experience is that you're gonna have feedback in the wheel. And to be honest with you, when I was growing up, it was sim racing that helped me get my driver's license, because I took my driver's license in a snowstorm. So if it wasn't for the wheel, the feedback in the wheel, and the looseness of driving cars, I probably would have not passed my driver's test.
Talking about driver tests, Mike, we have a new leader on the track. Currently, it's Kelly Thomas, at 51, and Kelly's had a race, so to say, if you will, getting tagged up in some of that early action on the track here. But now it's Parker Collins leading the way here on the track as you see Kelly head down pit road there. Parker, man, one of those cars we saw out there, the Big Dog Racing team, just stayed out there as long as he could and has now put that machine back out on front there. Matthew Wilson is the closest car on that 48 there. We'll see how things shake out here after these green flag pit stops ensue. I do want to jump over the chat and do a special shout out to Stay Tuned Sports Podcast there. He says, "What's up, everybody?" with a little teardrop, but don't be sad. This race has been exciting from start to finish. Stage 1 saw a lot of cautions. We saw about 5 or 6 cautions to start off Stage 1, with Nick Offord picking up that victory. Stage 2 was a lot more zen, a lot more calm, cool, and collected there, Mike. Just for the viewers, if I'm not mistaken, Stage 2 victory, check back on that. But Stage 2 is a lot more zen, a lot more calm, cool, and collected. Now Stage 3 has started played out the same way here, Mike. The cars are starting to fan out just a tad bit there. Not as many cautions as we saw in Stage 1, but we start to see here with less than 50 or 20 laps to go, things are going to start heating up once these cars start to bunch back up here towards the end.
Definitely in Stage 2, Victor was the same as Stage 1, and that was Nick Offord. And, as we see, Parker Collins trying to make spoil the party, so to say, for Nick.
Yeah, and Parker has locked himself into the playoffs, picking up a race victory. I believe it was a few weeks ago, if I'm not mistaken. He ran really well at the road course last week. Just didn't put his car into victory lane there, but I do want to check back to see. Last week at the road course, it was Matthew Badby that took home the race victory there. Riley Hoots and Parker finished just outside the podium, so ran a really awesome race last week. Just couldn't put that thing into victory lane there. Taking a look at those point standings once again, ladies and gentlemen, as we're creeping down towards the close-off point, if you will, in the series. Parker Collins has got 2 wins on the season, so he's the only driver other than Matthew Badby to have multiple wins on the season. But taking a look at Matthew Wilson, that 48, he's in second place right now. It is, again, awesome to see Matthew back out on the track. Again, if you want to support Matthew and his family as we take an onboard ride with him, his onboard cameras are brought to you by 10-4 Broadcasting. We encourage you to go check out High Octane Sim Series. I'm sure they'll have a link to his GoFundMe page there as well. We have a link on our page at 10-4 Broadcasting on Facebook if you want to help out Matthew and his family through this dark time. He unfortunately lost his mom last Wednesday, but of course it's awesome to see him back on the track, and anything that we can do for you, Matthew, we're here for you, man. But man, it would be awesome to see you put that thing into victory lane here tonight. Again, we encourage everybody to go check out that GoFundMe page, donate whatever you can there towards him and his family in this dark time. But man, he is racing with a mission here tonight, Mike.
Yes, definitely. We see Allen though. He's we see Matthew have a little bit of a blinkingness there. Allen now, your new P2. Well, Darren is trying to make a P3.
Those boys at Stay Tuned Sports Podcast would love to recap this race on their podcast. If you want all that action about any of the sports that are happening right now, UFC, basketball, no football going on, baseball, if you're into that, it's going on right now. The NHL playoffs are going to start up, so go check out Stay Tuned Sports Podcast on there. I know they help us out with one of the series that we call on Sunday nights the East Coast Modified Tour. So special shout out for them for tuning in here tonight. Back to this 3-car battle we got going on for the lead, Mike.
This is actually the 54 of Collins getting by some lap traffic there.
Yeah, he is climbing through that lap traffic, Mike, and I'm trying to look at the grid there. He is climbing his way to this race victory. It's almost up to, if I'm reading that grid just correctly, they're 8-second lead for Parker now.
Yes, almost a little over 7.5-second lead. Parker's trying to spoil that 1-2 victory on the stage that Nick had taken.
And taking a look at where Nick is now on the grid. Nick Alford has fallen down just outside the top 5 there, ladies and gentlemen, but he is a solid 17 seconds behind our race leader right now. And Mike, you don't usually see that out of drivers that stay out as long as Parker did. What do you think it was that built up that speed for him just to overtake so easily?
I think it's just, he just keep hitting his marks. And I think also the second thing is that he went in when his teammates went around him. So he stayed out, longer than everybody else. And then he went in when his teammates went by him. So he still had that speed that when people were going by, he was able to gain a little bit of advantage by coming down pit road when he did. I'm seeing about 7 laps on his tires. So he could have also taken 4 tires, which I'm looking at a 14.60 pit stop. Nick looks like it was 8.3, 8.4 on his pit stop. So definitely 2 different race strategies going on right here.
Yeah, Mike, and looking past the lead there, looking down the grid, we mentioned 2 drivers to start this broadcast off, and it was Derek Schilling in that 87 and James Brosker in that 3. That's 10 and 11 in the point standings, ladies and gentlemen. The top 10 make it into the chase, if you will. It looks like Derek Schilling might be the guy here tonight, going to finish just above James. As you see, James is a lap down here on the track, but Derek Schilling in that 87 there, you see the leader creeping up to him to put him a lap down as well. See if he can stay on the lead lap there. He needs that position on the track to solidify himself in the top 10 of those point standings. But again, it has been Parker Collins just climbed his way up here, ladies and gentlemen. And looking back onto last week, Parker did the same thing at the road course at Daytona. Led 26 laps at the road course and had the fastest lap on the track. I know he was extremely disappointed to finish outside the podium there. Came home P4 after Matthew Badby just jumped off that restart to end that thing. But he did the same thing at the road course last week, Mike, and he just waited his time here at Las Vegas. And then he's about to cash in his chips and take home the victory here with less than 10 to go.
Yes, and I think Parker even said, 2 weeks ago that road courses were not his thing.
But it was, though. It was a surprising effort out of him last week, leading the most laps and having the fastest lap on the track. Just didn't have the track position at the end, Mike, but he has waited his time here in tonight's event. He is leading the way as we take a look at Derek Schilling, the 87, Matthew Wilson in that 48. Matthew is just outside of the top, actually in the top 5 currently. Top 5 is going to be Bledsoe in that 42, Darren Staff in that 45. Matthew Wilson in that 48, it's going to be P5, and then Ryan Lewis is in that 20, he's going to be P4, ladies and gentlemen. But you got less than 10 laps to go here at Vegas. It's really just a race for the battles behind our race leader with Parker Collins leading the way. See Bledsoe and King are battling it out there, but King is 3 laps down, Robert King in that 5 machine. Look at the battle ensuing between the 42. And Bledsoe is actually in P2 there. He is trying to climb his way back up there, Mike. And that lead has gone down significantly. Bledsoe has closed that lead, Mike. Do you think he's going to have enough laps to catch Parker in that 54? As you see, he's right there on that back bumper. He might do it, Mike.
Yeah, I think the 54 is trying to save a little bit of fuel, or I believe it's maybe tires.
Either way, he's got to see that 42 coming in his back mirror. That 42 wants to lock himself into the playoffs as he has no wins on the season. Alan Bledsoe in that 42, so he's wanting that race victory here tonight to solidify himself in the playoffs. Parker has already racked up 2 wins here on the season. See if he can climb up there, ladies and gentlemen. But next time across this line, we have less than 6 laps to go. And Bledsoe has, I thought he had all but wrapped up this race victory. Parker Collins in that 54 as he's heading down into 1. Coming around into 2 here, but man, that 42 has done a great job climbing through that lap traffic. He's put himself into that position right behind him, ladies and gentlemen. It's really going to be a 2-car shootout to close this thing out, but if they battle it out for a few laps, Darren Staff in that 45 might see an opportunity as well to get up there and help out his teammate. But right now, we're going to have less than 5 laps to go here at Las Vegas. Viva Las Vegas, baby. This is the last 5 laps here at the High Octane Sim Series at Las Vegas. Alan Bledsoe in that 42 is going to lead down into 1, which you see just out of the corner of your screen there. Right there, just out of the corner of your eye, you'll see that 42, and then you'll see Darren Staff in that Riley Lewis and Darren Staff in that 54 and 20, 45 and 20 are right there as well. Nick Alfred's in the top 5 position, but man, he had talked about, as we mentioned, he picked up stage 1 and stage 2 victories. He needs to put that thing into victory lane to have a shot at the playoffs. They have a lot of pressure on him coming into Richmond, ladies and gentlemen. But here we go. This is a battle for the lead in swing going down into 3. You see if he can get a little push out of Zachary Compton there in that 80. He's going to cross the line with less than 4 laps to go at Las Vegas.
Zachary Compton is 81. The 80 is Nicholas Compton.
See if he wants to help out Allen in that 42. You see him swing way out to the inside there.
It looks like the 81 wants to try to get by, but he also doesn't want to be, you know, an issue with the leader who sees out with only 2 laps to go here.
Be 3 to go here, ladies and gentlemen. Right. See, the grid's registering 3 to go here. Taking a look at Parker Collins there. Alan Bledsoe heading down the backstretch here. I'm seeing 3 to go. Maybe it's 2 to go. We shall see here, ladies and gentlemen, as it's Parker Collins and Alan Bledsoe on that 42 battling it out here.
White flag
This
here.
is the final lap on the track here, ladies and gentlemen. Parker Collins on that 54, Alan Bledsoe on that 42 battling it out down into 1. You see Alan Bledsoe kind of think back there just a tad. You see if he makes a move here on the backstretch. He goes to the outside. They're side by side heading down the backstretch. See the in-car camera view of Alan Bledsoe there in that 42 machine. You see Parker Collins in that 54 just ahead of him here. You'll see if they have a battle on that front stretch there. But no, it's going to be Parker Collins taking home the race victory here, ladies and gentlemen. Picking up his 3rd win of the season here at Vegas, baby. Man, what a win out of Parker Collins in that 54. Alan Bledsoe did an excellent job climbing his way back up there to finish P2. And you see running down the grid here, Darren Staff, another big dog racing teammate, is going to come home P3. Ryan Lewis in that 20 is going to come home P4.
Oh, give me 1 second. Turn that to race. There we go.
Here we go, taking a look at the official results, ladies and gentlemen. Man, what a race it was here at 10-4 Broadcasting, bringing you this action out of the High Octane Sim Series at Vegas. And man, Parker Collins is going to get his 3rd victory on the season for Big Dog Racing there. Alan Bledsoe, man, you got to give a lot of props to him, Mike, for climbing his way to have a shot at the race victory. I thought it was all but locked up for Parker there, but he really gave Parker a run for his money there towards the end. Another Big Dog Racing teammate, Darren Staff, is going to finish on the podium with his teammate there. Riley Lewis is going to finish just outside the podium there in 4th. Nick Alfred, great finish out of him, but as he mentioned as we interviewed him throughout this broadcast, he needs a race victory to put him in there because he's mathematically out of the playoffs right now. Kelly Thomas, man, a driver that was just tangled up in a lot of unfortunate events here tonight, coming home P6, so a great top 10 finish out of him. After that, we're looking at Derek Schilling in that 87. We spoke to him throughout this broadcast as well. It's another driver that's right on the cusp. It's between him and James Brosker for that last playoff spot heading into tonight's event. Matthew Wilson, that 48. Again, it's awesome to see Matthew back in here in the high octane sim series. He's going to come home P9. Zachary Compton's P10. We'll throw it back over to you, Mike, to finish off that official results.
P11 is Matthew. P12 would be Robert. P13 is Nicholas Compton. P14 is Bob Carroll, followed by Brian Clark and Riley Hoots, who was unable to get the car started tonight. Rounds out your top 16 race drivers.
Man, Mike, that was quite an event here at Las Vegas. It brought you all the action you would see on the Las Vegas Strip, Mike. That stage one, 6 or 7 cautions to start off tonight's race. Stage two, the boys got a little bit more comfortable in the machines, but you saw Nick Offord pick up stage one, stage two victories. As you see the KSA Fusion King in the chat. See, not the result I wanted, but close enough out of the KSA Fusion King there. Man, what a race there, Mike. And stage three was the same thing. We all but locked it up for Parker there in that machine. But Alan did a great job of climbing back in that 42. But I can't be reminisced without saying what an awesome job it was out of the Tiny Dog Racing team again here tonight, Mike. You put 3 cars in the top 5 to end this race. Man, what a showing out of them.
Definitely, I thought we were going to have a first-time winner here tonight, especially with all the chaos we had in the first opening, say 15, 20 laps? And then after that, I think it settled down just a tad bit. But other than that, great run by everybody here, especially tonight. Again, if you guys are looking to, join up a great bunch of guys here, especially on a Friday night, do some lovely racing. Some great tracks coming up. Richmond, also Traction Compound or PJ1, also in the rearview mirror, so to say. Come check out these guys here.
And Mike, I believe, speaking of that 42 of Alan Bledsoe, I believe you got him, you're catching up with him on pit road. We'll go ahead and throw to you with that interview on pit road. He's going to talk with our second place finisher here tonight. And Alan, this is Mike and Will up here in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
I got a copy, guys.
Alan, what do you think of this race?
I'm out of breath.
I
was pushing so hard there at the end, just trying to catch Parker, and but once I got to him, I just got arrow tight. I couldn't get around him, and I was just at that point hoping that he would run out of gas.
Definitely. We talked about Nick earlier on. He said how the cars just kept getting tighter and tighter. Did you feel like the weather was playing a big factor in the way the cars were getting too tight?
No. The way that this setup is, because we run fixed setup. The way that this official setup is, it starts you out on lower air pressure on the rears and higher air pressure on the fronts. But higher air pressure on the fronts is bad in the long run because it wears out those fronts a little bit more. And that right front tire, after 10 laps, it would just drop. You would feel the drop off. And if you didn't save your tires like a king there, you were just gonna you were gonna fall off. You were gonna fall off a lot. So I was doing my best, everything I could to save my tires throughout the run, getting out of the gas, easy on the throttle, all that good stuff. And I realized at the end, I was like, man, after that first stage was a caution fest, the second stage went green, and I was like, I think we're going to go green all the way to the end. And I mean, I was pretty much right. I was right after stage 2. So I came up with a strategy for 2 stops because I still had 2 sets of tires left, and I was like, I'm gonna go win this race because I don't think anybody can make it on fuel for the final stage. And then I guess we did have a caution really early on when I hit Kelly, and I apologize to the 51. We we were both just kind of crossing each other over, and it turned out bad because we saw the 45 get loose, and yeah, it turned into a mess. I'm sorry, guys. I'm really long winded.
Oh, that's okay. We see next week is a short track, and also with Tyler, also possible the chance of the PJ1 coming into iRacing then next week. What do you think that's going to turn into racing next week for you?
uh, well, I mean, next week is going to be really interesting for me personally because I'm about to have a child, and if the kid is not born by Thursday next week, I my wife is going to be induced. So we will have the child. The kid will be about a day old by the time the race comes up, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to make that race. So I don't know how it's going to go, but even if I don't make it, I'm going to be rooting on my teammates. Go Riley, go Batby, James, Matt, Kelly, all you guys going to do great at Bristol. Um, it is Bristol, right?
Richmond.
Richmond. Ooh, even better. Uh,
And with the
so
PJ1 and the rooming traction compound possibly coming, how much of a difference do you think that's going to play?
it's going to create some extra grooves. Tire wear is not going to be as bad. That track is really slippery on the throttle, and the combination of the traction control plus the nighttime, it being at night, it's going to increase grip by a lot coming off the corners. So you're going to see guys able to get on the throttle. It's going to be really hard to pass because you're going to be focusing on the center of the turn. Um, and PJ1 is just going to make it. Honestly, I think it's going to make it a little less racy because you're not going to have the ability to slip the tires, the rears coming off the corners. It's going to be kind of like Martinsville was this past weekend in real NASCAR. Does that make sense?
It 100% does. I mean, we don't know what it's gonna feel like or look like come next week, but I think that's gonna be a really big challenge for all the drivers.
Definitely, I mean, it's always going to be a challenge. Las Vegas this week, it was a challenge. Um, so, every track has its own combination of skill sets required to drive around the track, and um, Richmond is you're going to need to be need to be easy into the corners, careful off on the throttle, and yeah, it's going to be a fun race.
Most definitely. And here at 10-4 Broadcasting, we like to give every driver a chance to shout out sponsors, family members out there watching.
Yeah. So I've got my dad. He was watching this one. He actually just texted me, and he was like, so close." So, yeah. I mean, I feel the same way, but I'll get one. I'll get that win one of these days. But ATD for letting me put their logo on the car. I work for them, so American Tire Distributors, shout out to you guys. Go get your tires, tirebuyer.com. And let's see, I've got a couple other friends. Chuck, he likes to watch these races, and Zach, I'd like to shout out to him. But yeah, I mean, thank you guys. Obviously, thank Nick for making the league and he's a great admin. I tell you, he is an awesome owner to the league, and um, couldn't have one better. But you guys do a great job on 10-4 broadcasting. That's 10-4 broadcasting for those of you who are trying to look it up on YouTube. Not that they'll be able to hear it if they can't on here. Never mind.
It is all good, Alan. We appreciate you taking the time with us, man. And we know you wanted to pick up that race victory here, but you've all but solidified your spot in the playoffs, man. And we'll let you go ahead and strategize and see what your plan is for your new baby coming up here pretty soon. So we'll let you congratulations beforehand for that, man. And that's gonna be awesome, man. There's nothing better than that. And man, we wish you all the best, and congratulations again for us from here at 10-4 Broadcasting. We appreciate you taking the time with us.
I absolutely appreciate it, guys. Thank you guys so much for everything you do, and we'll see if I see you next week.
There we go, man. If not, man, we know where you're at.
Yeah, you do.
Alrighty, man. Well, you have a great night. We appreciate it.
You too.
And that was Alan Bledsoe, finished just outside the lead there. Great run to close that gap there towards the end. He was racing towards Parker Collins. Talking about the big dog racing team, I want to bring in our third place finisher, Darren Staff. Comes home P3 here tonight, just outside of his teammate there, taking home the race victory. And Darren, this is Mike and Will up here in the 10-4 broadcasting booth. You get a copy?
Yes, I do.
Man, we saw that race was, I would say, we say it every week, but that's probably one of the most exciting races that we've seen so far here at the High Octane Sim Series. We saw stage 1 was, I'd say, the Calamity stage. Stage 2 was a lot more chilled out, if you will. And then stage 3, we saw kind of a different strategy out of you guys. Did you guys have a strategy? I've renamed your team the Big Dog Racing Team, by the way. Did you guys have a strategy there towards the end of keeping Parker out there longer? You and Rye made pit stops, or was it just sort of who can stay out the longest type of deal?
I mean, Parker was on a different strategy than all of us there at the end, but me and Rye were kind of on our own, trying to make sure we can get in front of Alan. Hopefully, near the end of the cycle, go out. But near the end, when I had asked Parker, hey, where are you? And he had said he was still in the lead. And then all the pressure that had apparently been on me, since it was just between me and Alan there after pit stops, had all of a sudden gone to me and Parker. And then Parker was able to save enough. But yeah, it just kind of came out that way. Me and Rye were kind of on our own strategy, and then Parker was able to save enough to the end and get the win.
Man, what a win there. We saw Alan close that gap by a lot there towards the end. I all but put Parker into victory lane, but Alan did battle it out there towards the end. And kind of take us through what you kind of thought of the race and what you kind of saw playing out from your point of view, because you guys really hard charged there towards those late stages.
I mean, yeah, we also as a team, we were just trying to make sure, obviously, like you said, the first stage was absolute calamity. We had all of us had kind of avoided stuff. I mean, obviously Parker had that first wreck, which, I mean, he had been battling problems all night long. So it was super cool to see him go out and actually still hold off Alan to win the race. But yeah, we had then second stage we just tried to just make sure we stayed on our fuel run. And then third stage we just tried to get out in front of Alan and hope for the best.
Right. We saw that you guys here tonight. A lot of awesome driving, and Parker really picked up where he left off last week, leading the most laps at the fastest lap, just couldn't get that race victory there. And Darren, taking a look at the points here, coming into tonight, you were in P7. This should bump you up a few spots there in the table, but how are you feeling heading into Richmond next week?
I mean, it really, again, just like this week, it's really going to depend on strategy, obviously. Obviously, I think that's our last week, correct? That is our last week in the regular season.
I think so. That's when the window closes for you guys, for sure.
Yeah, then 100% we're going to hopefully see if we can get Rye in the playoffs off a win. But I'm definitely going to be trying to practice a lot this weekend. hopefully trying to make the playoffs because I think I could have last year, but unfortunately I had just joined the league late, so I wasn't able to get in. But yeah, we're definitely gonna try to get a win, if not get a really good finish in Richmond and go on and try to win the championship.
Yeah, with this top five finish here tonight, that should all about lock you in. It should move you up into either sixth or fifth, because I know we had some early DNFs here tonight, so a few drivers are going to slide down just a tad in that table. But that should all about do it for you and Parker. But like you said, you want to put Ryan into victory lane to lock his way into that. But coming home P2 here tonight, or P3 right behind Allen there. Your partner Parker picking up the big win here tonight at Vegas. But before we let you go, man, we do want to give you an opportunity to shout out anybody you might have had watching here tonight, or any sponsors you got in that car. Of course, like I said, I've renamed your team the Big Dog Racing Team, but I'll let you have the floor.
Yeah, then Big Dog Racing, all of us there tonight, we've always done really well with working well with each other, trying to get all of us in the playoffs or in victory lane each week. I can't thank my family enough for giving me an opportunity always to go out here and race every week. I can't thank you guys enough for broadcasting every week. We always need someone to. We always need some way to get our name out there, and obviously, H.O.S.S and Nick and everyone who hosts this league. It's really fun coming here every Friday night.
It's a feel good Friday, if you will, and I'm sure you boys at the Big Dog Racing Team are feeling good here tonight. And Darren, we appreciate you taking the time, man. And like I said, I think next week you can kind of keep it cool at Richmond, not get too crazy. But I think you've all but locked your spot into the playoffs, man. So an early congratulations. I won't to jinx it just yet, but congratulations on making the playoffs, you and Parker. But man, what a finish here tonight! You boys really showed out here at Vegas and laid it all on the table.
Yeah, definitely. All of us at TDR knew this was going to be a good track for us, and it was good to actually capitalize on that and show that we were good here tonight.
Man, what a way to finish it out, man. We appreciate you taking the time with us here up here in the 10-4 broadcasting booth. We want to wish you a good night, and we'll talk to you next week.
Yeah, good. Thank you.
And that was Darren Staff finishing just outside of his teammates there, finished coming home P3 here tonight. Man, what a way to solidify his spot in the playoffs, Mike.
Yeah, Darren's is looking for that win, and we talked about it earlier in the broadcast. Teammates, they're good, but sometimes gotta give that teammate the little bump and run.
Talking about teammates. Let's see if we can't catch up with our race winner, who is currently in victory lane with the Bud Light and the champagne raining down on him here at Vegas. He's going to be popping champagnes in the cabanas here on the strip. Parker Collins, this is Mike and Will up here in the 10-4 broadcasting booth. Man, you sealed the deal. I know last week you led the most laps, had the fastest lap on the track, but tonight you got the job done. You took home that victory. Kind of take us through what led to that, and what's your thoughts on tonight's race?
I don't even know where to start. There's a lot to unpack here. At one point we were like a total of 4 laps down throughout the entirety of the race, and got a couple of lucky breaks and timely cautions, and then I was able to save enough fuel there at the end to just make it. I ended up running out as I crossed this finish line. So it was a very chaotic race. Absolute thriller there at the end. I was shaking, like I was trying so hard to save fuel and keep Allen behind me, but it was a really, really awesome race.
Oh man, it was a treat for us if you're in the broadcast booth. Stage one, I've named it the calamity stage. We saw about 6 or 7 cautions in that first stage. Stage two is a lot more zen. Nick picking up both those stage victories there, but then stage 3, you guys just came on like a hard charging pack through the field. Saw you, Darren, and Rye up there just racing it out. We also saw a little bit of strategy kind of playing out there where you stayed out a little bit longer, and Rye and Darren went down pit road. Is that something you guys talked about? We talked with Darren just a second ago. He said him and Rye had a strategy. Was it something you kind of had in the back of your mind as well?
It was just kind of something that kind of happened as the race went on. I mean, that last caution that we had before that green flag finished to the end, I'd come down and taken fuel because I was at the very back of the field, so I'm like, why not? And then so they stayed out since they were up front. And then yeah, I mean, I just decided to make it a one-stop strategy instead of a two, just because I was right there on my fuel window to make it. But I mean, then again, I still had to save like almost 2 laps there on that last stint, which was a nightmare to try and figure out. But just really glad we got done there just in time.
Gosh, we saw Allen close that window by a significant amount. I all but put you in victory lane there thinking you had it in the bag, but Allen came hard charging there towards the end. But man, you got 3 wins on the season here, right behind Matthew Badby with 4, but you have 2 less starts than him on the season, man. How you feeling heading into Richmond, our last regular season race of the season? How you feeling about your championship odds at this point?
I'm feeling pretty good. Definitely gotta keep the momentum up ahead of the playoffs, and then once the playoff starts, we got 2 really really tough tracks to begin with, Daytona and then the Charlotte Roval. So uh, you're definitely gonna have to make sure that you can get some stage points and have a halfway decent finishing position at least to give yourself a shot to be able to do something those last 3 races. So, uh, I feel pretty good about Richmond. Richmond's a pretty good track for me. Just got to be smart and patient throughout the race, keep the nose clean. Uh, Hopefully end up with a win or a really good finishing position to keep up some momentum for the playoffs.
Man, I've renamed your team the Big Dog Racing team because you guys have come on really strong here on the last few weeks between you, Darren, and now Rye even showed out a little bit here tonight as well. I know you guys want to put him into victory lane at Richmond next week, but I do want to give you a congratulations to you and Darren. I think Darren's about locked his spot into the playoffs as well. So you've got 2 out of the 3 drivers heading into that chase, man. You must be feeling really good about the Big Dog Racing team heading into that championship.
Yeah, we feel pretty good. Hopefully we can find a way to sneak Rye in there. I know he's had to miss a couple weeks due to school and stuff like that, but yeah, we got Darren. Hopefully he can sneak his way in there. We got Alex too, who I think he won a race earlier at Chicagoland. Yeah. Um, yeah, I think we got a strong case for one of us win the championship. I mean, I'm not gonna count any chickens before they hatch or anything, but I think we're definitely one of, if not the strongest team right now. We have a ton of momentum going right now, and hopefully we can keep it up and get into the playoffs with us.
Oh man! And before we let you go, head out to the strip and pop some champagne there and celebrate in the casinos. We do want to give you that opportunity to shout out anybody that you might have had watching here tonight, or any sponsors you got on the side of that race car while you're in victory lane here.
Yeah, I mean, just shout out to everybody over at Big Dog Racing. They did, it was probably one of our most complete races as a team. Everybody drove the wheels off of it, and they did a heck of a job keeping the tires. I don't know, keep the nose clean all night, and it was a really fun race, and really happy to have a good team result.
And well, it's a big congratulations from us here at the 10-4 Broadcasting Booth. You are coming on right at the right time here in the season, man. And congratulations on picking up the race victory here tonight. I know you wanted it bad last week at the road course, but you got the job done here tonight, man. And man, you were our pick. I think my pick, I can't speak for Mike yet, but my pick heading down into the championship, you were really giving Matthew a run for his money here towards the end. And we appreciate you taking the time to let you continue to celebrate here in Vegas.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Man, Mike, that was Parker Collins. Like I said, he really wanted the race victory last week led the most laps, had the fastest lap on the track. But like I said, I renamed that team the Big Dog Racing Team because they have shown out that they are not tiny dogs here on the track. They are big dogs. Like he said, they came hard charging in those late stages.
Yes, we've seen towards the middle of the race. Yes, middle of the race that Tiny Dog, or actually Big Dog Racing, started to take a big chance, and that was controlling the race.
And he did. He talked about how there was kind of different strategies between the teammates there, but it was all about that teamwork. He said it was the most cohesive race that they've raced so far as a team, and you really saw it in tonight's event. They kind of lingered back a little bit. You heard from Parker say that he actually went a couple laps down. They worked together as a team. They had some good breaks there with the caution flags, and that's all. We talked about the gamble here at Vegas, Mike, and that's all that plays into that is the gamble, making the gambles, making the bets that you know are going to pay off, making the bets that you might not think are going to pay off, but they do pay off here at the end. And you saw here in tonight's race that they made their gambles, they made their picks, and wouldn't you know it, they have three cars finishing in the top five here tonight.
Most definitely, and I believe we'll be chatting with one more person here this evening.
I believe so. I believe you were catching up with Robert King on that number five machine on pit road. We'll go ahead and get him a copy here in the 10-4 broadcasting booth. Hey, Robert, this is Mike and Will up here in the 10-4 broadcasting booth. You got a copy?
I got you loud and clear, guys.
Well,
Well,
go ahead. How did you? How was your race today?
honestly, for the first two stages, I felt like I was fairly. I was decent during the first two. Towards the end of the race, I was getting really tight. Then I had that one incident that you guys did catch. I did notice that you guys caught that, where I jumped across after some contact with the 42. That was honestly a scary situation. I'm pretty sure Bat B would say the same thing when it comes to that particular situation. I feel like I could have came in here a little bit stronger. I pushed the car too much, and I know that for a fact. Honestly, my tires, every time I went in, put a new set on, I had no tires by the end of the race. I pitted lap 150 was my last pit with the last four that I had on the car, and I couldn't get there. It was one of those situations where I was trying to push, and I was pushing too much. The same thing that happened back in Kentucky.
Well, what do you were? We seen late in the run, you started being a little dominant there at the late in the run. Did you see a difference in tires with the weather being realistic?
I definitely did. The tires, once the run started getting, past a certain point, I noticed the cars were getting a lot tighter towards the end of the race. I was pretty much turning my wheel a full 90 degrees by the time the end of the race was up. And that was pretty much end of stage 1 and 2 as well. So, like, honestly, the car handled great throughout the race. Had a couple of incidences. I believe myself and staff had that one issue when Brosker had spun himself around from the lead. That was one of the other incidences that I had. I wasn't too happy about that, but I kind of, sat her down and tried to push through and came out with a top 12. So, I mean, I wish I could have done better, but getting that 3 laps down, that's where it really, hit me hard.
Well, next week is Richmond, and also the rumored PJ1 coming to iRacing. What are you looking forward to next week?
Honestly, I'm not really looking too forward to Richmond, but I know I'm going to have a fast car there. I ran there in the truck series for officials the whole week that they were there, and I came close to winning a couple of times. So I have a decent chance next week, I think. I'm going to get practicing probably tomorrow, and then I'm going to just practice pretty much all week for Richmond, if I can. So, just hoping that I can push myself through and maybe get that win and get myself locked into the playoffs with only 4 starts.
Do you think the PJ1 that iRacing's bringing is going to have a factor, at least for your type of racing or strategy going into Richmond?
honestly, if the rumors are true and it does actually come when, they say it's going to, I think it's going to put a lot more grip on our tires in the long run. And going forward, that it will be a factor, at least with me, considering I lose grip really quickly anyways. Because I've been on iRacing for 4 years, yes, but I'm still learning. Uh, for me, the tire wear is really where my issues come down to it. I try to keep myself from, wearing my tires too much, but again, it really will come down to what's going to happen next week.
Definitely. Here at 10 for Broadcasting, I'd like to give a shout out to any sponsors or people that are watching the broadcasting tonight.
Well, again, my main sponsor, which is me. Uh, no, it sounds weird and pretty selfish that I'm sponsoring myself, but it's really the only sponsor I have right now. That's a full-blown sponsor. Like I have iRacing, iFlag. That's not really a sponsor per se, or like my graphic designer who has done the work on my paint schemes. Cheeky Monkey Designs has really been where she has pretty much been the the upside to my racing recently. She's actually worked on a couple of other vehicles that I have working. I'm actually getting her to set up a car for Daytona in 2 weeks because we do have that USA race coming up at Daytona. So.
Well, did you want to? I know it says that you wanted to make a mention real quick. Is there anything that you wanted to say besides all that?
Well, when it comes down to the person, I was in the chat for most of the race. I stepped away for about a moment, maybe. I was a little annoyed with the person that said I should fire my painter. I am going to say that I'm sorry that I'm not going to be firing her, as that would be a little bit detrimental to my sport, in my opinion. Uh, that and the fact that I've been working with her for a while now, and we've already got our next gen idea for what we're running next season. We're coming up with a completely different scheme for next season. It's going to be different color scheme, different everything for the most part, and I can't wait for y'all to see it for next season.
Well, we definitely look forward to it. Seeing as how I believe they did post next season's schedule, so we're
It just
definitely
did,
looking
yeah.
forward to it.
Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting season next season. We got Daytona to start it off as per usual, but then we jump right up to New England, to New Hampshire, one of my home states. I'm originally from Massachusetts. I've recently moved to Florida. I used to live like 2 hours from the track, and I've gone there a few times myself. It's a blast, but that's gonna be one heck of a race at New Hampshire when the next season comes around. So.
I believe.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate you taking the time with us here, Robert, and good luck next week at Richmond and see if you can't put that number 5 machine into victory lane and sneak your way into the playoffs, man. And again, we appreciate you taking the time with us here.
Well, speaking of the number 5 machine, there was a mistake on the admin's end tonight. They forgot to change it in the admin or in the roster for iRacing that my number was changed. That is why you guys were a little bit confused with why I was running a different number than what it said on the list.
It's all good, man. Well, we just gotta keep a lookout for your face right in the middle of that car there. We won't get
Oh
confused
yeah.
that way, Robert. But
Well,
man,
next
good
week
luck
I
at
am
Richmond.
running a throwback Kellogg scheme from Terry Labonte, so you won't see that next week. So.
Gotcha, man. Well, we appreciate you taking the time with us here tonight, and good luck at Richmond next week.
All right. Thanks, guys. I'm gonna see y'all around.
Awesome. That was Robert King. He was talking about how he had a bit of a rough night here tonight, climbed his way up towards the lead there in the middle of the race. Just struggled a little bit towards the end. It's only about his third or fourth race with us here at the High Octane Sim Series, but definitely good effort out of him here tonight. He's going to try to sneak his way into the playoffs next week. But man, Mike, what a race it was here at Las Vegas. Viva Las Vegas, baby. Shout out to Elvis Presley. We had everything we want here up in the booth. We had calamity in stage 1, about 6 or 7 cautions to lead this race off. Stage 2, a lot more zen. It's almost like a zen garden. You saw everybody kind of keep it cool, a lot more relaxed, a lot more. You saw things become a lot more racy, if you will. A lot more strategies starting to be implemented. A lot more things starting to play out there in stage 2. Saw Nick Alford pick up stage 1 and stage 2 victories. We spoke to him. He said he needs to put that thing into victory lane to have a shot at the playoffs because he is mathematically out of it, but wasn't able to do that here tonight. He's going to come home right at P5, top 5 race for him tonight, but a lot of pressure on him heading into Richmond, as so a lot of those drivers heading into next week try to get that last playoff spot into the playoffs, heading into the last half of the season here at the High Octane Sim Series. But Mike, that was quite a race it was here tonight. We got everything we want here in a race.
Yes, definitely. Next week, with the rumors that is what's coming is coming, it's definitely going to change everybody's mindset. Like I said during the race, you might have the mindset of, yeah, I've been to Richmond, I've raced Richmond, but guess what? It's definitely changing if what's happening is happening. So, we might have first-time winners, we might have a repeat winner. Who knows? Tune in next week and we'll see what happens.
Man, changes, they are a coming here in iRacing. Keep an eye out for that, as that's going to be the last regular season race for us here at the High Octane Sim Series, and we can't wait to give you that coverage. Next week is going to be, I know we say it every week, but that one will probably be the most exciting race that you'll see out of these boys, as they're going to be fighting for that last playoff spot there. But Parker Collins, man, he's giving Matthew Badby a run for his money here in the High Octane Sim Series. He's got 3 wins with 2 less starts than Matthew Badby in that 89 machine. So we'll see if we have a change at the top of the table here, ladies and gentlemen. But boy, what a race it was here at Las Vegas. We can't wait to bring you that action here next week. We'll take a look again at the final results here at Las Vegas here in the High Octane Sim Series 270. Parker Collins, we spoke to him just a little while ago at a Big Dog race. Going to rename that race team there. He's going to take home the race victory here tonight. Alan Bledsoe, man, he was hard charging to try to catch Parker there. As you said, Parker was saving fuel there towards the end. Just came just a tad bit short there, coming home P2. Darren Staff, another Big Dog Racing teammate there, coming home P3. Rye Lewis, we spoke to Parker and Darren how they want to put Rye, sneak him into the playoffs at Richmond. So you'll see if those teammates want to work together at Richmond next week to try to get their teammate into the playoffs. Nick Alford, I just spoke about the pressure that's going to be on him next week at Richmond, as he wasn't able to get the race victory here tonight, but he picked up 2 stage wins. Running down the rest of this chart for you, ladies and gentlemen. Kelly Thomas coming home P6. Derek Schilling is another driver we spoke to during this race who needs to pick up a race victory. Him and James Brosker are going to finish just above one another, just like they are in the point standings. Matthew Wilson's great to see him back out on the track. He's going to come home P9. Zachary Compton had a bit of a rough race here tonight, but a solid top 10 finish out of Zachary in that 81 machine. Matthew Badby, our points leader, had definitely a rough night here at Vegas. It wasn't the party, it wasn't the glamour as you usually see at Las Vegas out of Matthew Badby in that 89. But again, he's locked himself into the playoffs, and no worries heading into Richmond next week. Robert King, we just spoke to him a little while ago here on the broadcast. He's going to come home P12. Nicholas Compton is going to come home P13, a few laps down there, and then of course we're going to have our last 3 cars on the grid there who unfortunately had to retire early, and they DNF'd here at Las Vegas. That's Riley Hoots in 16th, Brian Clark in 15th, and Bob Carroll in 14th here, ladies and gentlemen. And man, what a race it was here in the High Octane Sim Series. If you enjoyed the show, if you enjoyed what you watch here, ladies and gentlemen, go check us out on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. It is 10-4 broadcasting across all platforms. Go check us out. Follow us on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. We bring you live iRacing action every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We got this series here, the High Octane Sim Series Cup Series. We bring you live action at 8 p.m. Eastern on Fridays. Saturday nights, we bring you ARCA action out of the Powerhouse Racing League at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time there in the Powerhouse Racing League. And then on Sunday nights, we bring you the East Coast Modified Tour that starts at 8 p.m. Eastern as well. So if you love iRacing, love iRacing action, we bring you a mixed bag of racing here at 10-4 Broadcasting. But man, what an exciting race it was for us here tonight at High Octane Sim Series. And may wait to bring you the action at Richmond next week. But for me, Will Tiller up in the booth, Mike Maddox here at 10-4 Broadcast. We want to wish y'all a great weekend, a great rest of your night, and a happy Easter and happy Passover, all those holidays that are happening here tonight, and a happy Good Friday as well, ladies and gentlemen. But we do want to wish you a good night here at 10-4 Broadcast, and we appreciate everybody for tuning in here.